Chapter 1973. Ning Shu asked Mei Ziqing to bring Xiaohua to the restaurant in Water City. Before they left, Ning Shu prayed that they wouldn't meet the judges. Then he said to 2333, "Let's go to Water City." Ning Shu felt dizzy as he stood on the street in front of the restaurant. Mei Ziqing and Xiaohua were standing at the entrance of the restaurant. He walked over and looked at Xiaohua. You've become smarter." Xiaohua wasn't as confused as before. He was always in a state of confusion. It was right to read more. "That's because I taught you well," Mei Ziqing said. Ning Shu, hee. The three of them walked into the restaurant and found a place to sit down. Shu Bai saw Ning Shu and came down. She smiled at Ning Shu and said, "I'm relieved to see that you're fine. I didn't believe it when Si Tian said you were fine." Ning Shu nodded. "Thank you for your concern. Give me the menu." "Okay, I'll give you a 50% discount this time. Consider it a celebration of your survival." Shu Bai was generous and knew her limits. If she didn't give him everything for free, he could at least get his money back with a 50% discount. "You order. Someone's treating. Order something good." Ning Shu passed the menu to Xiaohua. Xiaohua took it and ordered a lot of food. Shu Bai squinted her eyes. "You escaped from the judges. City Lord, you're amazing. It's nothing special. I just have some secret methods." To be precise, it was 2333's methods. 2333 seemed to be getting more and more mysterious. Shu Bai fanned herself with a round fan, looking very charming. She was a gentle and well-educated woman. "Shu Bai, congratulations, City Lord. The next tax collection should be able to reach a new high. The Directorate of Heaven has already opened the auction house." "Is that so? That's good." Ning Shu drank his tea and said, "Just follow the rules." Shu Bai smiled reservedly. "You're done eating." Shu Bai walked away. Just by looking at her back, one could tell that she was a peerless beauty. She was the kind of woman that could make one's heart flutter. She was filled with a scholarly aura. "This boss sure knows how to conduct himself," Mei Ziqing said as he sipped his tea. Ning Shu just said, "We're just acquaintances. There's not much friendship between us. In their eyes, I'm just the city lord." Their relationship was at the level of friendship. At most, it was because of benefits, and the friendship between gentlemen was as indifferent as water. There wouldn't be a life and death situation, nor would there be a friendship where they could say anything from the bottom of their hearts. Mei Ziqing poured tea for Xiaohua. "Of course." "Xiaohua, let me see it," Ning Shu said to Xiaohua. "Look." Flame removed the sachet from its neck. Ning Shu opened the sachet and saw that it was still the same thing. There was no difference. It seemed that it would take some time for it to hatch. It might even take a long time for it to hatch. In the end, it was not the world's origin. That would be fucking cheating. Ning Shu tied up the sachet and put it on Xiaohua. He said, "I'll have to trouble you to help me incubate it." Okay. Xiaohua put the sachet in his collar and wore it close to his body. Ning Shu looked at Xiaohua and said to Mei Ziqing, "Have you thought about his future?" Mei Ziqing shook her head. "I don't know what to do with him." Xiaohua couldn't become a mission enforcer, but being locked in the system space every day was also a form of torture for Xiaohua. Although he could read, Xiaohua might not like this kind of life. "Xiaohua, what do you think?" Mei Ziqing asked the little guy. Xiaohua blinked and said, "I'm okay. I can live anywhere as long as I'm with Ziqing." Ning Shu wiggled her eyebrows at Mei Ziqing and smiled cheekily. Mei Ziqing rolled her eyes at Ning Shu. "Do you want to go somewhere else to have fun? Or follow Pan Qin to other planes to see what's out there?" Ning Shu shook his head. Pan Qin is a lawless person and has no karma on him. He's also not weak. If anything happens, he can protect himself. But Xiaohua might not be able to do the same. Ning Shu felt like he had become an old woman. He stopped worrying. The dishes they ordered were served. Ning Shu picked up his chopsticks and started eating. Mei Ziqing said, "Let's wait for Xiaohua to mature." Mei Ziqing kept putting food in Xiaohua's bowl. It felt like she was raising Xiaohua like a child. Ning Shu bit his chopsticks and thought for a moment. "Isn't the auction open? Let's go take a look." Ning Shu heaved a sigh of relief when she didn't meet any judges. It seemed like they wouldn't stop her here. She hoped that the judges would be too busy. It would be best if they died of exhaustion. Then she wouldn't have to be chased anymore. She wouldn't be a fugitive. I'm a little afraid of the auction now. Ever since I bought Xiaohua, I haven't been going there. Impulse spending is scary. Mei Ziqing shook her head quickly. It seemed like she didn't want to go to the auction. Ning Shu said, "We're just going in to take a look. We're not buying anything." Forget it. I say this every time. But when I see something, I can't control myself. You overestimate your self-control, Mei Ziqing said directly. That doesn't matter. I have money anyway, Ning Shu said smugly. After eating and paying the bill, Ning Shu and the other two went to the auction. When they entered, they paid 500 merit points. Ning Shu swiped his card and helped Xiaohua swipe 500 merit points. Mei Ziqing swiped another 500 merit points. They took their seat numbers and entered the auction. Why do I feel like you treat Xiaohua better than me? Mei Ziqing raised her eyebrows. Ning Shu tilted his head and said, "If you can help me hatch the world's origin, I'll help you swipe your card." Mei Ziqing pursed his lips. "If I remember correctly, you're still on the run. Is it really okay for you to appear in public like this? Moreover, the people who come to the auction house are not simple people. If someone notifies the judges, you can just wait for your death." Ning Shu smiled. "I'm already prepared." Ning Shu took out a veil and put it on her head. The veil covered her face. "This way people can't see my face. It's even more eye-catching," Mei Ziqing complained. Ning Shu found a seat and sat down, waiting for the auction to start. He didn't know how Si Tian managed the auction. If she managed it well, she would definitely get a lot of taxes. The auction started. It was a female auctioneer. She was quite pretty and looked better than the dry old auctioneer from before. The items were all strange and rare. Ning Shu hoped to see a world carrier again. Last time, he missed the world carrier of the world tree. Ning Shu would regret it for the rest of his life. He hoped that there would be something good this time. At the very least, there should be a world's origin. The atmosphere of the auction was very lively. Ning Shu saw that Si Tian was watching the auction from upstairs. Si Tian was personally overseeing. She was probably afraid of accidents. He just didn't know if the people from the previous auction would come to cause trouble. Chapter 1974. There were many things in the auction house, but Ning Shu had no use for them. What Ning Shu wanted the most was a carrier of a world. Next is the reincarnation source from the world of reincarnation. The starting price is 1 million faith power. The auctioneer said. Ning Shu was speechless. 1 million? Source? Could it be the source of a world? 1 million faith power was probably enough to shock everyone. Ning Shu's taxes only amounted to about 1 million. The reincarnation source is the source energy obtained from the world of reincarnation. Everyone knows that the world is divided into day and night, and the planes are divided into yin and yang. Mirrors have two sides. One side is for living people, and the other side is for souls. Living people in the world of reincarnation can't survive, so 1 million is not expensive at all. The auctioneer said. But many people were still hesitating. After all, 1 million faith power was something that ordinary people didn't have. Someone tried to bid and added another 10,000. 1,010,000. Is there anyone else who wants to bid? The auctioneer asked with a helpless expression. It seemed like this item couldn't be sold for a high price. For those who needed it, 1 million was not expensive at all. This item was too difficult to obtain. Si Tian frowned. This item was too high-end. It couldn't be sold. Si Tian rubbed his brows. The world of reincarnation. The silver-haired man said that it was a real world. There were creatures in the world that could reincarnate. Since there was reincarnation source, they should get it. Ning Shu raised his card, 1,020,000. The mission enforcer who bid earlier heaved a sigh of relief. It was a little difficult to get a world source for 1 million. He would have to spend all his money. The auctioneer laughed and said loudly, 1,020,000. Is there anyone else who wants to bid? This item might not appear again. After all, it's very difficult to get something like this from the world of reincarnation. An ordinary world source only costs 50,000 to 60,000 merit points. This item is indispensable to the world of reincarnation. If you miss it, you will regret it for the rest of your life. The auctioneer tried her best to promote it. No matter how good this item was, it was too expensive. Even if one wanted to get it, they wouldn't be able to afford it. Just like last time, Ning Shu had encountered a world tree, but because he was poor and had no money, he had missed it. Thinking about it now, Ning Shu wanted to beat his chest. In fact, there weren't many people who built the world of reincarnation. Most of them built a world where living beings could live, not a world where souls could reincarnate. The beautiful auctioneer said a lot of good things, but there weren't many people who wanted to buy it. Moreover, even if it was to construct a world, the other world origins added together wouldn't be as expensive as the reincarnation origin. Therefore, no matter how much the beautiful auctioneer bragged, no one responded, even if the auctioneer was very beautiful. The auctioneer helplessly said, 1.02 million going once, 1.02 million going twice, 1.03 million, 1 million. Si Tian made a bid. He really couldn't bear to see his family's treasure being sold off just like that. If someone raised the price, he could earn more. Ning Shu was speechless. How could business be so successful? Ning Shu expressionlessly shouted, 1.01 million. Si Tian looked at Ning Shu's position. Because Ning Shu was wearing a veil hat, he couldn't see Ning Shu's face clearly. Si Tian narrowed his eyes and shouted, 1.12 million. Si Tian didn't dare to raise his bid too high in fear of scaring people away. Ning Shu was speechless. Mei Ziqing said, "Forget it. It's just a world's origin. It's not worth spending so much." It didn't matter whether it was worth it or not. Anyway, the money came from taxes. Even if they used it, they could just treat it as returning to the time before liberation. Things that could be bought with money didn't need to spend time looking for. Very good. Ning Shu liked this method. Looking for the world's origin really broke Ning Shu's heart. Ning Shu made a bid. 1.15 million. This was the last price she could bear. If it was higher, she wouldn't be able to take it out. Si Tian narrowed his eyes. He knew when to stop. 1.15 million going once, going twice, going thrice. Congratulations to this customer. The reincarnation origin is yours. The auctioneer heaved a sigh of relief. Ning Shu got the reincarnation origin. As for the other things, Ning Shu was a bit strained. Not long after, Ning Shu used up 1.15 million faith power. During the last crisis, he used up 500,000 merit points. As expected, he was back to the time before liberation. When the auction ended, Ning Shu went to get the reincarnation origin. Si Tian was waiting for Ning Shu. He handed the reincarnation origin to Ning Shu. The reincarnation origin was a cloud of black mist. It felt like holding a universe in his hand. Ning Shu put away the reincarnation origin, lifted the curtain, and said to Si Tian, "You're not very honest when doing business." Si Tian smiled and said, "After all, it's a good thing. A good thing has to be worth a high price. Also, this thing can't be lost. I have to make a little profit and sell it to people who really need it. People who really need it will bid. It'll be interesting to see if you play it out." Ning Shu said expressionlessly. Si Tian knows what to do. Congratulations to the city lord for surviving. Si Tian cupped his hands towards Ning Shu. Ning Shu nodded. Thank you. Are there any other world origins? No. Si Tian shook his head. There's none in the inventory? Ning Shu raised his eyebrows. An auction house actually didn't have ordinary elemental world origins. It was impossible. City Lord, Si Tian really doesn't have any. Ordinary world origins don't meet the standards of an auction. However, these things are very popular. Many people need them. There's also very little of them, so there's very little of them in the market. Even Si Tian is collecting them. Si Tian said. Ning Shu was a little disappointed. It seemed that although ordinary world origins were cheap, there was a lot of demand. Since he didn't get what he wanted, Ning Shu didn't bother with Ction. As for the extra 100,000 faith power that Ction made her pay, Ction would return it sooner or later. When the time came, the money would return to her in the form of taxes. The three of them left the auction house. Mei Ziqing said, "The owner of the auction house must have made a lot of money in this auction. You can take the taxes." Ning Shu only nodded. Of course, the auction house didn't open every day. They had to collect good things and hold an auction every once in a while. Ning Shu carefully sensed the city's enchantment. Then he repaired and strengthened the enchantment. Before he was caught by the judges, he repaired what needed to be repaired. Then he hid for a while and didn't come out. In short, he had to keep a low profile. Ning Shu said to Mei Ziqing, "I have to go. I'm a fugitive now. If I'm caught, I'm done for." "Oh, get lost. I'll bring Xiaohua around." Mei Ziqing didn't care. Mei Ziqing knew what Ning Shu's situation was like. He was like a rat crossing the street. He didn't want to see the light of day. Therefore, he didn't say anything and let Ning Shu leave. Ning Shu tiptoed and patted Xiaohua's head. "It's been hard on you. Incubate for a while more." Chapter 1975. Ning Shu's actions carried a sense of doting. After all, this was only a child. Xiaohua nodded, "I understand." Xiaohua's silly appearance was like a gentle large dog, obedient and cute. However, such a big son was enough to annoy Mei Ziqing. Ning Shu felt dizzy and returned to the system space. He said to 2333, "Is my black hole going to form a reincarnation world?" 2333 said, "With the world origin, it will form a reincarnation world. With the existence of the world stone, it might form many reincarnation worlds. Because the world stone has the ability to replicate, it will replicate many reincarnation worlds. Of course, if you have enough life planes, you can also replicate more reincarnation worlds." Ning Shu was overjoyed. He took out a black fog of reincarnation origin. A black hole appeared in front of him and sent the reincarnation origin into the black hole. The black hole swallowed the reincarnation origin. Ning Shu walked into the black hole and the black hole disappeared. Ning Shu disappeared from the system space like a living person. Although the black hole merged with the reincarnation world, there were no visible changes. Ning Shu stepped on the sand. He clearly wanted to build a world first, but he didn't expect to build a reincarnation world first. It was an unexpected surprise. He didn't expect the black hole to develop like this. Although he spent 1,000,000 faith power, it was worth it. Moreover, money was useless in his hands. It couldn't be used to strengthen himself. The most important thing now was to build a world with the peerless martial art. The world origin made Ning Shu despair. He started to doubt his life. Ning Shu walked slowly. It was as if he was walking in a boundless black desert. Moreover, it had an indescribable power. If a living person came to this world, their body would be corroded by this power and become a soul. Only souls could survive here. Compared to ordinary planes, ghosts could exist. However, only souls could exist in this world. It was good. With such a big reincarnation world, even if there were no souls, it could be used as a space. It wasn't bad to hide in it. A black hole appeared in the system space. Ning Shu walked out of the black hole. From then on, this world of samsara followed her like a shadow. Ning Shu 2333 asked, "Can my world of reincarnation also contain souls and allow them to reincarnate?" "That's not possible. Your world of samsara is not connected to the trillions of planes and is considered illegal. Moreover, your world of samsara is not a place of reincarnation recognized by the sea of law. In other words, the souls that enter your world of samsara are unable to reincarnate. Unless it's your own world, the living beings of the world that you created enter your world of samsara and reincarnate the living beings of your world." 2333 was a little tired after speaking for so long. To put it simply, don't do something so strenuous and unrewarding. Even if it's the world of reincarnation, it still has the ability to endure it. Could it be that you want your world of reincarnation to explode? Ning Shu said, "Oh, I understand. My world of samsara is the configuration of my world. Just like a data cable that could charge multiple mobile phones, the mobile phone was the world of construction, and the data cable was the world of reincarnation. No matter how many worlds she constructed, these souls would enter her world of samsara. Ning Shu did not expect to construct many worlds now. He only hoped that he could successfully construct one so that she would not be erased so easily. Ning Shu stretched and sat on the sofa. It could be considered that she had taken another step forward. She now had the water law attribute and the world of samsara. She could hide in the world of samsara. If mission enforcers came to provoke her again, she could directly lock them up in the world of samsara. She had one more life-saving method. This was really something worth celebrating. However, when Ning Shu saw the merit and faith on her attribute board, she was speechless. However, these things were all used to exchange for resources. She had gotten what she wanted. It was simply awesome. She had forced herself to be awesome. Applause. 2333 said, "Congrats." Same to you, same to you. Ning Shu laughed. I didn't expect you to be able to reach this step. 2333's voice was a little emotional. I thought you would vanish. Yeah, if I don't push myself, I will never know how much power I have. Hurry up and compliment me. 2333, they all said that you can't go on. Some people are also lame. 2333 said ambiguously. Who are some people? Ning Shu asked 2333. Nothing. 2333 did not say anything else. 2333 did not want to say any more. Ning Shu did not ask any more. Some things were better not to know. Run forward without any distractions and then control your own destiny. When you can control your own destiny, everything would not be a problem anymore. It would not be worth worrying about or worrying about. Ning Shu wanted to see how the mission enforcer went back, so he tapped on the screen. The mission enforcer went back in a state of confusion. She did not remember anything about her past. She was in a state of amnesia. She did not even recognize her own parents. She did not even remember how she came out of the tomb and what happened. She only vaguely felt something terrible. Even if someone asked about the Mirage Stone, Anya did not recognize it at all. She also did not remember seeing this kind of thing. Even the doctors said that she had amnesia. It was estimated that she had encountered something painful, so she forgot everything. Now Anya was a new person. She needed to slowly adapt to this society. She needed to accept that her parents did not know anything. She did not know anyone around her. Compared to their daughter who was crazy, their daughter only had amnesia. They could barely accept it. Anya's parents took the child home. They rebuilt their daughter's memory bank and told her about the things around her. They also told her about their daughter's life story. They hoped that one day Anya would be able to remember everything. But Anya's memory was taken away. She would never remember. It was like drinking Mengpo's soup, forgetting her past and present life. The other unconscious people still did not wake up. They were in a vegetative state. They relied on medical treatment to maintain their body's nutrition. Anya also did not dig the tomb again. After all, she did not remember anything. She had to start her life all over again. This kind of feeling was slightly strange. Although she did not know why she could wake up, but the others could not. Anya cherished the chance to start a new life. Her parents told her that everyone had an accident while digging the tomb. Anya often went to see these people, but her mind was always empty. There was nothing. She could not remember anything. The doctor said that she had a chance to remember the past. But her mind was empty, so how could she think of anything? Chapter 1976. Over time, Anya gave up on trying to remember the past. It was useless to be conflicted. She might as well give up. It was not too late to start over, especially since she was the only one alive. The others were either dead or lying unconscious on the bed. She was a very lucky person. Ning Shu closed the system space. The souls of those people were not in the world of reincarnation, but they were immersed in the illusion and could not come out. When their bodies could not bear it, they completely collapsed. Ning Shu lay on the sofa and closed his eyes to rest. After a while, he began to practice the attack method of soul power. He was proficient in using soul power. In addition to the dangers encountered in the mission, the world of the mission enforcers was also very dangerous. He had to have a way to protect himself, and soul power was the best way to attack the soul. After practicing for a while, Ning Shu felt quite tired. He then sat down and closed his eyes to rest. When he had enough rest, he continued to practice and strive to cultivate to the point of perfection. With a ding-dong, the chat system rang. Ning Shu stopped practicing and opened the chat system to see who had sent him a message. It was from the Cheongsam man, the City Lord of Time. The content was quite interesting. He asked Ning Shu if he wanted to fight for Hong Yu's city tax. Hong Yu was a law incarnation and controlled a city's tax. If he could fight for it, he could get a share. Ning Shu had just spent 1 million faith power, and now there was a side income. However, Ning Shu was more vigilant. After all, she was now a fugitive. If the judges met her, they would kill her. Although she now had the world of reincarnation, Ning Shu could not guarantee that she would not be killed. Why me? There should be a lot of people coveting this. Ning Shu directly asked the doubts in his heart. If she was called over and bumped into the judges, she would not be able to escape. Before she had absolute control over the situation and before she could guarantee her own life, Ning Shu could give up on these small benefits. Nothing was more important than her life. If she had constructed a world now, she would have rushed over without a second thought. It would be a waste not to take it. This was a city's tax, and it would be divided among a few people. No matter how small a mosquito's leg was, it was still meat. Hong Yu was killed. Many people don't dare to act rashly, especially since you survived the judge's attack. Many people don't dare to act rashly, the Cheongsam man said. It's fine if you don't want to come. Ning Shu blinked his eyes and asked, Is it safe over there? What? Are the judges here? Ning Shu asked directly. Redistributing the taxes of a city requires his approval. Otherwise, it would be unseemly if we fight. If we distribute the taxes ourselves, the distribution will be uneven. If we fight, we will be obliterated in minutes, the Cheongsam man said. Ning Shu was speechless. I don't want it, Ning Shu said resolutely. I don't want it. You really don't want it? The Cheongsam man asked in surprise. You're afraid of being obliterated. Ning Shu was speechless. Why did he say that when he knew? Ning Shu said, No, I haven't settled the matters in my own city yet. I don't want to care about the matters in other cities. Trying to look impressive. The Cheongsam man didn't force Ning Shu. He was just informing him out of friendship. If Ning Shu didn't go, it would give others a chance, and there would be one less competitor. No one would complain about having too many resources. Ning Shu turned off the chat system and patted his chest. Humans die for wealth and birds die for food. However, that little bit of food wasn't enough for Ning Shu to take the risk and be obliterated. She wouldn't do such a thing. You're too cowardly. Maybe they don't even care about you. You're just an ant. You ran away last time. If they see you again this time, they might not even recognize you, 2333 said. Ning Shu chuckled. Now that I'm considered a relatively strong ant, it's time for me to recognize you. When I see you, I'm reminded of the ant that escaped last time. To think that an ant escaped. How embarrassing. You'll definitely shoot me again. You're thinking too much. Don't use your level of thinking to measure the thoughts of people at another level. They won't deny an ant a place to live. 2333 said. Open your eyes. Oh, I still don't want to go. Ning Shu still didn't want to go. The difference was too big. There was no such thing as wealth and danger. If she had built a world, she would have gone without thinking. There was no need for 2333 to say that. I didn't ask you to go. 2333 said. Ning Shu continued to practice using the power of the soul. She turned the power of the soul into various tools that could cause damage to the enemy's soul. Ning Shu's heart was bubbling with joy. It wasn't easy to get to where she was today. She had the world of reincarnation. It was a world and space that belonged to her. It was a very, very big space. The heavens really took pity on her. She didn't add luck for nothing. After all, Mei Ziqing became a mission enforcer before her and entered the space of laws before her. However, she had the imprint of laws and the world of reincarnation. After practicing for a while, her soul was exhausted. Ning Shu stopped and looked at the fish in the pool. They looked like goldfish. They were colorful and swimming in the spiritual energy pool. The lotus was still blooming. She didn't know if it could bear lotus seeds. Something that could grow in spiritual energy must be good. Ning Shu saw the red roses in the vase on the tea table. The red roses were tender and beautiful. She took out the red roses, poured out the water in the vase, scooped some Reiki water from the pool, and then put the red roses in the vase. Ning Shu didn't know if it was an illusion. Under the nourishment of the spiritual energy, the roses were even more tender and beautiful. They had the fragrance of roses. There were roses and lotuses. Ning Shu suspected that her system space would become a garden. When she didn't practice soul attacks, Ning Shu kept practicing using the power of laws. She familiarized herself with the power of laws and discovered how to use the law of water. She was the embodiment of laws. She could use the laws with a thought. However, the extent of the use of laws depended on her understanding. The law of water had a myriad of changes. It was amazing. Ning Shu originally wanted to learn the law of time and space. However, she shouldn't bite off more than she could chew. She had to make good use of her own laws. Mastering one law didn't mean that she couldn't master another. However, the same law could only be suppressed when it met the embodiment of the law. For example, Ning Shu learned the law of space. However, she was beaten up by the embodiment of the law of space. However, when someone used the law of water in front of Ning Shu, the result was the same. This was the power of the embodiment of laws. However, different embodiments of laws depended on the strength of their respective laws. Chapter 1977. Ning Shu practiced the power of the soul attack and the use of the law. He kept going back and forth. He wanted to go to heaven. Ning Shu practiced for a while and rested for a while. He got more and more familiar with it. Let's go and do a mission now. Ning Shu said, I can meet the client now, right? Yes, you can. 2333 said. But you have to be careful of your world of reincarnation. If you suck the soul away, you can just wait for death. Huh? Ning Shu raised his eyebrows. What do you mean? The world of reincarnation swallows souls. You have complete control of the world of reincarnation. What if you swallow the client's soul? 2333 said. Ning Shu, that can't be right? Ning Shu said uncertainly. He felt that he could control the world of reincarnation. Alright, he wasn't too sure. He didn't seem to have complete control of the world of reincarnation. Wait for me to completely control the world of reincarnation. Ning Shu entered the black hole and disappeared from the system space. 2333. Crazy. Ning Shu walked in the black desert. He released his mental energy to check the entire world. But the world was a little big. Ning Shu had to check it one by one. It was a little difficult. And it seemed like this world was still slowly expanding. Ning Shu took out a few strands of golden soul source from his soul. He was afraid that just a strand of soul source wouldn't be enough to control such a big world. He might as well get more soul source to control. He wanted to make the world of reincarnation a part of him. Ning Shu opened his hands. A few strands of soul source floated up and flew into the sky. They merged with the world of reincarnation. This world was too big and empty. There was nothing. There should be plants that could survive in the world of reincarnation. He wanted to see if he could exchange for such things to grow in this empty world. If it really didn't work, he would sell the flowers in the world of reincarnation. The flower of the underworld could drink human blood and produce hallucinations. Ning Shu exited the black hole and opened up the system exchange store. He exchanged for some fasting pills and medicine. After that, he browsed the page to see if there were any seeds or flowers that could be planted in the world of reincarnation. In the end, Ning Shu really did see some seeds in a corner. There were also pictures of fresh flowers. They looked a little like spider lilies, but they were bloodier than spider lilies. They looked very interesting. Don't do these things. Creatures will fight for the energy of the world. Besides, it's not certain whether your world will merge or not. So, don't plant flowers. It's best if nothing can affect the merging of the realms. 2333 reminded. Of course, you can treat it as if I'm talking nonsense. Oh bullshit. Ning Shu didn't buy any flowers. Let the world of reincarnation slowly reincarnate and evolve. Then let's go do the quest. It didn't matter whether or not he could meet the quest taker in advance. What was important was that he could complete the quest. Oh, are you doing a system quest? 2333 asked Ning Shu. Do a system quest? This was 2333's catchphrase. What if he did it? Ning Shu thought for a while. Let's do something simple. The previous world was too tiring. My legs were broken from running. So, I don't want to be too tired in this world. Doing system quests was more tiring because he had to fight against the system. This was a huge cheat. 2333. Oh, do a quest, simple. Before Ning Shu could finish, 2333 violently sent him flying out of the system space. Ning Shu, it was obvious that this was revenge. This was revenge. He wanted to send 2333 to the world of reincarnation to reflect. He wanted to face the wall and reflect in the black desert. Big senior brother, be careful. Ning Shu's soul had just entered his body when he heard a crisp female voice. Ning Shu opened his eyes and saw a snow-white sword piercing towards his face. Reflexively, Ning Shu raised the sword in his hand. With a ding sound, the two snow-white swords made an ear-piercing sound. The two figures brushed past each other. Ning Shu kept his sword and looked at the girl in front of him. His eyes flashed with surprise. This girl's skin was smooth and her eyebrows were picturesque. She didn't wear any makeup and her hair was tied up with a ribbon. She was wearing a light green shirt and holding a sword. She looked very beautiful. It seemed like she had a weird personality. Big senior brother, take this. Big senior brother? Oh, Ning Shu quickly cupped his hands. Junior sister, you win. Big senior brother, you did it on purpose. You let me win again. The girl in green couldn't help but stomp her feet. I don't want to fight with you. I'll go fight with other senior brothers. The girl in green's qigong was very good. She flew away in an instant. Her figure was graceful, like a fairy from the ninth heaven. Beautiful girl. Ning Shu inserted his sword. It seemed like he was in a wuxia world this time and was playing with a sword. Ning Shu sat in the pavilion and began to accept the plot. The client was called Chong Xiefeng, the eldest disciple of the Wanjian villa. The one who had just competed with Chong Xiefeng was his junior sister, Qin Yanji. She was one of the top beauties in Jianghu. It was just a glimpse of her beauty. She was indeed a beauty in Jianghu. The name Yanji was because Qin Yanji's mother died in childbirth when she was giving birth to her. Qin Song, the head of the Wanjian villa, gave the child such a name to mourn his dead wife. Qin Song never married. The client, Chong Xiefeng, was the most outstanding person in this batch of disciples. He was the most outstanding swordsman in the Wanjian villa. He was also handsome. His hair was slanted to his temples, and his nose was like a hanging gallbladder. He looked like a gentleman. Chong Xiefeng was Qin Yanji's fiancé. If there were no accidents, Chong Xiefeng would be the head of the Wanjian villa in the future. In addition, he was also Qin Yanji's fiancé. However, Qin Yanji seemed to be a little infatuated. No matter how much Chong Xiefeng protected her, she had no romantic feelings for Chong Xiefeng. At most, they were brother and sister. Being in Jianghu, how could one not explore? Chong Xiefeng wanted to leave the villa and explore Jianghu, but the strange Qin Yanji insisted on following. She insisted on going. Alright, let's go then. This trip was fucking difficult. Qin Yanji was the kind of person who liked to fight for justice. However, the matter was resolved by Chong Xiefeng. When she encountered a prostitute, she would be generous with money. In the end, she was targeted. She even wandered into a brothel. Did she really think that no one would recognize her if she wore men's clothes? In any case, the entire journey was in chaos and chaos. Chong Xiefeng followed behind to deal with the aftermath. That was until she met Situ Sun. This Situ Sun was both righteous and evil. He was a very charming person. He found an opportunity to strike up a conversation with Qin Yanji. Qin Yanji was simple. The more she chatted with Situ Sun, the more they got along. She even dragged Chong Xiefeng into becoming sworn brothers with Situ Sun. It was fine if she was fooling around, but she also dragged Chong Xiefeng into it. Chong Xiefeng was going to inherit the Wanjian villa in the future. How could becoming sworn brothers be so casual? The Jianghu was a code of brotherhood. If something happened to the other party, they would help even if they had to climb a mountain of swords or plunge into a sea of fire. Otherwise, they would be disloyal. How could they survive in Jianghu? Chapter 1978. Qin Yanji didn't even know the background of the person she wanted to become sworn brothers with. Qin Yanji just thought this person was interesting. Giving him an ambiguous identity was too suspicious. Qin Yanji's father had asked Chong Xiefeng to leave the manor. He wanted Chong Xiefeng to wander the world and make a name for himself so that he could inherit the Wanjian manor in the future. Situ Sun followed them all the way and did all kinds of exciting things. He robbed the rich to help the poor and made fun of corrupt officials. Qin Yanji insisted on becoming sworn brothers with him and insisted on being the boss. Situ Sun agreed right away and called him boss, which made Qin Yanji feel comfortable all over. Chong Xiefeng felt a headache when faced with such a naughty Qin Yanji, but he was used to it. Chong Xiefeng was also wary of this man. When this man got closer to Qin Yanji, and Qin Yanji got closer to Situ Sun, Chong Xiefeng began to worry. Qin Yanji seemed to be his fiancée. Not to mention whether the man could accept her being so close to a man, but more importantly, Chong Xiefeng was afraid that Qin Yanji would be deceived by this man. Qin Yanji had always been ignorant about love. This man's attentiveness made Chong Xiefeng instinctively hostile and vigilant. He repeatedly asked Qin Yanji to go back to Wanjian Villa with him. But Qin Yanji always said that it was rare for her to come out, so she begged senior brother not to send her back so soon. Chong Xiefeng didn't agree at first and insisted that Qin Yanji go back. The world was dangerous, and a girl like Qin Yanji could easily get into trouble. How would he explain it to his master? It would be like putting his heart in a pot of oil. But Qin Yanji ran away alone, and Chong Xiefeng was worried sick. He didn't even know where Situ Sun ran off to. In the end, he found Qin Yanji in the brothel. Qin Yanji made a scene in the brothel to save the poor girl who had fallen into the brothel. Those who opened brothels were all people with powerful backgrounds. Otherwise, how could they control people from all walks of life? As soon as a few masters appeared, they subdued Qin Yanji. She was almost humiliated and sold into prostitution in the brothel. From time to time, Situ Sun would act out of line with Qin Yanji. Usually he would hug her, or he would almost kiss her. The heartbeat game was very interesting. However, Qin Yanji said that she had a fiancé, but she didn't say who her fiancé was. In short, she made it sound very mysterious. It gave people the feeling that this fiancé might or might not have a fiancé. Basically, the fact that Chong Xiefeng was a cuckold could not be washed away. Meanwhile, Chong Xiefeng also felt that his fiancé might have fallen in love with a man who appeared out of nowhere. Moreover, this man was deliberately flirting with his sister. What the fuck? Qin Yanji was also confused. She wasn't sure if she had fallen in love with Situ Sun, but she also knew that her father was doing this for her own good. Her eldest brother was a very good person. Both his character and martial arts were top-notch. Moreover, they had grown up together. He had loved and spoiled her. Even if the sky fell, Qin Yanji knew that there was a tall figure in front of her, because this was her senior brother. However, Situ Sun gave her the feeling of excitement and freshness. It was the taste of love. It was that wonderful and irresistible heartbeat feeling. Qin Yanji hated herself. She felt that she was a greedy woman. Why did she hurt her eldest brother like this? Why was she so obsessed with Situ Sun? In short, Situ Sun's flirting skills made Qin Yanji lose her heart. Perhaps Chong Xiefeng was not Qin Yanji's cup of tea. Chong Xiefeng was thunderstruck. What was going on? Chong Xiefeng and Sidu Sun were fighting in private. No man could tolerate this kind of thing. The villa master, Qin Song, let Chong Xiefeng and Qin Yanji return to Wanjian Villa. Qin Yanji and Situ Sun separated. Qin Yanji wanted to give up this thought and be with her eldest brother. When Chong Xiefeng and Qin Yanji returned to Wanjian Villa, the villa master said that he wanted the two children to get married. The reason was that his body couldn't take it anymore. Ever since his wife had a difficult birth, Qin Song had been a little obsessed. These years, his martial arts had not improved at all. So he wanted Chong Xiefeng to marry his daughter. Qin Yanji felt like she had been struck by lightning. Although she had made up her mind to not be in contact with Situ Sun, she was still against marrying her eldest brother so suddenly. Qin Yanji was unwilling. She said that she did not want to get married, so she was directly locked up by her father. They would get married in 3 days, regardless of whether Qin Yanji agreed or not. Qin Yanji, who was locked up, was always thinking of ways to escape. Chong Xiefeng saw Qin Yanji like this and could only let her go. However, Chong Xiefeng's decision made the villa master furious. He directly locked her up, fed her poison, and suffered heart-wrenching pain. Ning Shu was speechless. Was this her own master? Qin Yanji, who was running halfway, thought of her youth with her eldest brother. The days when they held hands when they were young, and heard that her eldest brother was being tortured when she was young, so she ran back. Chong Xiefeng was pleasantly surprised. However, he had probably been tricked by his unreliable junior sister too many times. Chong Xiefeng asked again, "Do you really want to stay and marry me?" Really, really, really? Important things had to be asked 3 times. Qin Yanji nodded affirmatively. Only then did Father Qin give the antidote to his prospective son-in-law. Sure enough, the son-in-law and the father-in-law did not see eye to eye and did not hesitate to poison each other. Chong Xiefeng might have met a fake father-in-law. Then the word "she" was plastered everywhere. The bride even wore a phoenix coronet and robes. However, when it was time for the wedding ceremony, Qin Yanji saw the signal flare that Situ Sun sent her. This signal was only known to the two of them. So Qin Yanji hugged me and wanted to cut off all ties with Situ Sun. She went alone to find Situ Sun. She said that he was from the devil sect, and I was from a righteous sect. We can't be together, blah blah. Situ Sun's real identity was the protector of the devil sect. In reality, he was the leader of the devil sect. One person played 2 roles. Situ Sun directly said, "I want you to come with me. Come with me." Qin Yanji said, "I can't be with you. I can't. After the wedding ceremony, they found that there was no bride, so they looked everywhere for a bride. In the end, Chong Xiefeng saw the two of them in the back of the mountain in a corner. Her heartbroken expression showed how heartbreaking it was. Situ Sun brought many people and directly beat up Chong Xiefeng. Situ Sun said, "If you don't come with me, I'll kill Chong Xiefeng." How could that be? In Qin Yanji's heart, Chong Xiefeng was as important as Situ Sun. If either of them died, she would be in so much pain that she wanted to die. Qin Yanji said, "You're going to hurt my senior brother. I hate you. I hate you to death." Situ Sun still threatened, "Come with me or else I'll kill Chong Xiefeng." Qin Yanji said to Chong Xiefeng with tears in her eyes, "Senior brother, you have to live." Then she said to Situ Sun, "I hate you." Chapter 1979. Qin Yanji left with Situ Sun for Chong Xiefeng's life. She had sacrificed a lot for Chong Xiefeng and sacrificed herself to save Chong Xiefeng. Helpless, he shouted at Chong Xiefeng, "Eldest senior brother, you have to live well." Qin Yanji was brought to the demon sect by Situ Sun, but she was in a cold war with Situ Sun. She was unwilling to forgive Situ Sun. It was mainly because of Qin Yanji's heart. She wanted reason, but she also wanted love. To put it bluntly, she wanted to be a whore, but she also wanted a monument to her chastity. She loved Situ Sun, but she also felt sorry for Chong Xiefeng. In short, it was a mess. Yes, both men are equally important in my heart. All the sects came to attend the wedding, but the bride ran away with someone else in a wedding dress. The handsome swordsman, Chong Xiefeng, became a joke. Of course, The entire Wanjian villa became a joke. Old man Qin almost vomited blood. His body swayed, and he pulled Chong Xiefeng to apologize. Chong Xiefeng didn't know why, but he felt sick. Qin Yanji left to save him and didn't want others to hurt him. But that was the little sister he had doted on for more than 10 years, so it was already a habit. So he took people to save Qin Yanji. Qin Yanji was pregnant. Fine, let's get married again. Qin Yanji refused. Senior, I'm already very sorry. I can't treat you like this. It's not fair to you. Also, this child isn't yours. Chong Xiefeng thought, I'll be the one to take over this child. Fine, Qin Yanji wanted to marry Chong Xiefeng in despair, but Situ Sun brought people to steal the bride again. Chong Xiefeng was so angry that he laughed. He started fighting with Situ Sun at the wedding. Qin Yanji kept shouting, "Stop fighting, stop fighting." Then she pulled out a sword and put it to her neck. She was about to commit suicide. Both men had feelings for Qin Yanji. Seeing Qin Yanji like this, they could only stop. Blue Empress, under Situ Sun's threat, this time threatened her father-in-law, Old Man Qin. She said she would drag Old Man Qin's wife out of the armory and whip her corpse. This time, in order to protect his mother's body from being destroyed and to prevent his father from being too sad, he decided to do this for his mother. Qin Yanji knelt in front of her father and complained about how unfilial she was. She also complained about how vicious Situ Sun was. She wanted to kill herself with a sword, but Situ Sun saved her. He carried the unconscious Qin Yanji away. Chong Xiefeng really didn't understand what he had done wrong to Qin Yanji. Why did he have to humiliate him like this? He even said that he was the one who had wronged him the most in this life. In the next life, he would definitely choose to be with him. Ning Shu, what a confusing plot. She had nothing better to do, or she was spoiled. After that, Old Man Qin's health deteriorated and he passed the position of Manor Lord to Chong Xiefeng. He sighed incessantly and finally passed away without saying anything. After Chong Xiefeng became the Manor Master of 10,000 Swords Manor, he gathered the various sects and clans to attack the Devil Sect in the name of eliminating the Devil Sect. These sects also had their own selfish motives. They wanted to take some gold from the Devil Sect. People weren't united, so the team couldn't be led. Everyone was a scammer. During the attack on the Devil Sect, Qin Yanji stood on Situ Sun's side again and asked Chong Xiefeng to let Situ Sun go. He said again that if anything happened to any of them, he would be in pain. They were all equally important in his heart. Because Chong Xiefeng's people weren't united and didn't help in various ways, Chong Xiefeng's body was pierced by Situ Sun and he fell in a pool of blood. Qin Yanji crawled in front of Chong Xiefeng and hugged his body. She wailed loudly and called out "eldest senior brother" at the top of her lungs. She looked like she was in so much pain that she really looked like her lover had died. Chong Xiefeng's wish. Ha Ning Shu. What did Ha mean? Chong Xiefeng was obviously the tragic second male lead. He was full of resentment, but what did Ha mean? Who was she mocking? It felt like these clients were getting more and more unique. After Ning Shu accepted the plot, he felt that it was really a sad drama. In the first half, Qin Yanji was a little princess who was loved by everyone. Although she didn't have a mother, she had a father who loved her. She had a good fiancé and didn't have to worry about food or clothes for the rest of her life. In the second half, she was sandwiched between two men. It was so sad. She was an eccentric girl who liked to cause trouble and had a chivalrous heart. Although it was always others who cleaned up her messes, she was basically going to cry until she went blind in the end. It could only be said that Mary Sue was really too scary. It was also a sad Mary Sue who felt that all the pain in the world was on her. It was so painful and so difficult. She was obviously loved by everyone, but in the end, she made herself look like that. Perhaps Qin Yanji thought that this was love. It was only considered love when one's heart was torn apart. A love that didn't involve death wasn't called love. Ning Shu picked up the teapot on the stone table and poured a cup of tea to drink slowly. It wouldn't be long before he went to the Jianghu to gain experience and make a name for himself as the Jade-Faced Swordsman. When the time came, he would inherit Wanjian Villa. It would be similar to inheriting a company in modern times. He would become a tall, rich, and handsome man and walk to the peak of life. Ning Shu stood up and returned to his room. He sat cross-legged on the bed and tested the spiritual energy in this plane. The spiritual energy was okay, but the rules were very suppressed. Moreover, Ning Shu felt that even if he cultivated ultimate martial arts, it was impossible to cultivate it to be very powerful. It was possible to leap over roofs and vault over walls, but to fly in the sky was impossible. This was a martial arts world. There was internal strength, but it couldn't be compared to the cultivation world. The suppression was very strong, so you had to use mediocre martial arts. The more powerful masters had to have more profound internal strength in the end. Ning Shu didn't care so much and directly began to cultivate. He had some ability to protect himself and had the ability to resist the extremely talented Situ Sun. Not only was Situ Sun a martial arts genius, but he was also an expert at flirting with girls. He had stolen Qin Yanji's soul. Chong Xiefeng, who had been waiting silently for the cabbage that he had been waiting for more than 10 years, was suddenly plucked and eaten by someone else. This feeling was really unbearable. Moreover, this fresh little cabbage was constantly being stabbed with knives. It couldn't be said that Qin Yanji was a white lotus. Perhaps she was really kind. To be precise, she was a woman like a magnolia. She had a faint fragrance, white and moving. The fragrance was enchanting, and her beauty was attractive. Don't blame me for being beautiful. After cultivating for a while, there was some spiritual energy in his energy center, but it wasn't much. Knock, knock, knock. There was a knock on the door, and Ning Shu stopped cultivating. A disciple's voice came from outside the door. "Senior brother, the villa master wants you to go over." "Okay." Ning Shu got off the bed, put on his shoes, and tidied his clothes and hair. Then he walked out elegantly. Ning Shu went to the main hall and saw a thin middle-aged man. This was Qin Yanji's father, Qin Song. The space between his eyebrows was a bit dark. It seemed that he was depressed. He couldn't forget his wife who had died in childbirth. He was a love-struck fool. Chapter 1980. After Situ Sun abducted the pregnant Qin Yanji from the wedding, Qin Song's health deteriorated. When he died, he entrusted someone to be his son. Qin Yanji didn't appear. Of course, she had no choice but to do so because she was locked up by Situ Sun to nurse the baby. When the child was born, Qin Yanji found out that her father had passed away. Ning Shu walked into the room and saluted Qin Song. "Master." When Qin Song died, he sighed. He probably thought of the outcome. But he was about to die, and there was nothing he could do about the living. "Xiefeng, go out and experience the world. Let people know that you're the eldest disciple of Wanjian Villa. People are sinister, so you have to be careful." Qin Song reminded Ning Shu. His expression was gentle. He had Chong Xiefeng in his heart. When he poisoned her, he probably wanted Qin Yanji to come back. No one knew a daughter better than a father. But he still miscalculated. After all the trouble, Qin Yanji still left, although she compromised for Chong Xiefeng's life. It made Chong Xiefeng and Wanjian Villa a joke. Marriage, kidnapping, kidnapping again. What a joke. Qin Yanji and Situ Sun were telepathic. Situ Sun always found something to threaten Qin Yanji. Qin Yanji was always forced, wronged, or sacrificed to leave with others. "You can't blame me. I was forced. Even if you blame me, I'll just bear with it." Ning Shu suddenly understood Chong Xiefeng's laughter. If it were Ning Shu, he would also laugh. "I'll remember. I'll be careful to protect myself and do my duty as a righteous disciple." Ning Shu said respectfully. "I've always trusted you. Go back and pack. Pick a day to leave." Qin Song said gently. Ning Shu grunted. "Master, please take care of yourself." Qin Song was mentally ill. Qin Yanji's mother was also a beauty. Just look at Qin Yanji, and you can see how beautiful she was. Ning Shu left the room and headed back to his own. Suddenly, someone patted his shoulder. Ning Shu turned around and saw Qin Yanji smiling sweetly. "Little junior sister." Ning Shu greeted her and walked towards his room without stopping. Qin Yanji strode forward. Her footsteps were light and graceful, like a beautiful butterfly dancing gracefully. Qin Yanji, who hadn't fallen into a bitter love drama, was still a playful and cute girl. When she fell in love, her style suddenly changed. She was all kinds of fragile and sad, like a resentful wife running between the two men. Ning Shu felt tired just thinking about it. He had a lot of time to live a carefree life, but he used it to do these things. Senior brother, are you going to travel the world? Can you take me with you? Qin Yanji begged Ning Shu. No, this is my training. It has nothing to do with you. Ning Shu rejected him directly. She rejected him very coldly. Qin Yanji pouted. She probably wasn't used to Ning Shu's cold personality. Senior brother, just take me with you. I promise I won't cause you any trouble. I've never left Wanjian Villa. Can you take me out to see the outside world? Qin Yanji whined to Ning Shu. Ning Shu opened the closet and packed her undergarments. She was poor, so she had to bring enough money. You can talk to Master about this. If Master allows me to take you, then I'll take you. But if Master doesn't allow you to go, then there's nothing I can do. Ning Shu said. Qin Yanji pouted. She was very dissatisfied with Ning Shu's attitude. If Father agreed to let me go, then I wouldn't have come to you. Father said that girls can't go out. If I don't go out once in my life, then I'll regret it for the rest of my life. Also, Father wants me to embroider a dowry. My hands are used to hold swords, not needles and thread. Ning Shu's hand paused. There was a hidden meaning in this sentence. If you take me, then I'll marry you when I come back. After all, she even said something like embroidering a wedding dress. If she didn't go out to explore, then she would regret it for the rest of her life. Ning Shu only said, if Master agrees to let you go, then I'll take you. Senior brother, how can you be like this? Father won't agree. Can you take me? I want to see what the world is like. You have to ask Master about this. Qin Yanji said. Senior brother, can't you say something else? A teacher for a day is a father for life. Such a big thing must be approved by Master. Ask Master. Ning Shu said with a smile. I'm a nice guy. Qin Yanji frowned. She pouted, snorted, and left. Usually, Chong Xiefeng would compromise in this kind of situation. Ning Shu ignored Qin Yanji. He packed some poisons. There were knockout drugs, special poison in the world, and the kind that would kill you if you didn't use it. There were also some antidotes. In short, everything was taken care of. They were going to go on a trip at public expense and fight for justice. Ning Shu was stupid to take such a troublemaker with him this time. She caused trouble everywhere he went. He would be kneeling if he didn't cause trouble. One moment she cared about the world, and the next she was like a saint. It was a headache. Kindness was a kind of ability. If you didn't have the ability, then don't be kind. Not causing trouble for others was a virtue. Some people used kindness as an excuse to cause trouble for others. No matter what happened, they would say that they were kind. What could he say? It was hopeless. Every time Chong Xiefeng cleaned up Qin Yanji's mess, he spent all the money he had. He was almost broke to the point of robbing. He couldn't let Qin Yanji sleep on the streets. Chong Xiefeng was so busy that he was often in a state of, who am I? What am I doing? Qin Yanji went to find her father and said that she wanted to go on an adventure with senior brother, but her father rejected her directly. There was no room for negotiation. This daughter was naive and didn't know anything. Chong Xiefeng only had 2 hands. How could he take care of her? Qin Yanji was speechless. Was he still her biological father? Qin Yanji angrily went back to her room and waited for Ning Shu to comfort her. When the time came, senior brother wouldn't be able to resist and would take her with him. However, Qin Yanji waited and waited, but Ning Shu didn't come. Ning Shu carried a bag and a sword in one hand and left while it was dark. Qin Yanji looked at the empty room and was so angry that she almost cried. Her father was a big bad guy, and senior brother was also a big bad guy. Without senior brother, she could go on an adventure on her own. Her martial arts weren't bad either. Even if she couldn't win, she could run. Also, without senior brother controlling her, she had more freedom. Qin Yanji was over the moon. She immediately went back to her room to pack her things. She wore men's clothes, but her chest was still full. Her ears were pierced, she didn't have an Adam's apple, and she was short. As long as one wasn't blind, one could tell that she was a woman. How blind could one not see that men and women had different bone structures and mannerisms? Qin Yanji sneaked away and shouted, "I'm coming to the world of martial arts." Chapter 1981. Ning Shu set off from Wanjian Villa and rode away on his horse. He didn't care about Qin Yanji at all. He randomly chose a direction and planned to go to a more prosperous city. It would be a waste not to go on a public trip. As for Qin Yanji, Ning Shu felt that she would definitely wander around the world. Otherwise, how would she have met Situ Sun? Ning Shu thought that Situ Sun was a poisonous person. He seemed to have come for Qin Yanji. He bumped into Qin Yanji as soon as he got close to her and wanted to become sworn brothers. Ning Shu suspected that this guy had long been thinking about the client's fiancée. After all, Qin Yanji was a beauty on the Jianghu beauty list. People in the Jianghu didn't care about trifles. These beauties were all drawn on paper. It was also possible that Situ Sun had seen Qin Yanji. On the public trip, Ning Shu searched for the world's origin while making a name for himself. After fighting for justice, Ning Shu gave some money to let people leave here and find a new place to live. Those who could kidnap women were either powerful or rich. She could fight for justice for a while, but once she left, those people would still be unlucky, or even more unlucky. They would blame it on the people who were bullied. Fighting for justice and chasing away a few hooligans was called chivalrous? Then Ning Shu shamelessly gave himself the title of Jade-Face Chivalrous Lord. People in the Jianghu called him Jade-Face Chivalrous Lord. Sorry, I'm so good-looking. If he encountered someone who was sick and needed treatment, Ning Shu would help. This kind of treatment that didn't need to cause any trouble was something that Ning Shu was willing to do. At most, he would pay for some herbs. Sometimes, Ning Shu could treat some illnesses with silver needles. Ning Shu ate wherever he could. The ancient delicacies were also very good. He would enjoy them if he could. However, Ning Shu didn't find the world's origin. The water attribute, when would he find it? These things were really hard to find. She was rich, but these things really couldn't be bought with money. There weren't many things, but the task-takers who built the world needed them. Looking for them made him feel hopeless. Waiter, the best dishes. Ning Shu sat in a restaurant and heard a familiar voice. Ning Shu. She had clearly avoided the plot route and chose the opposite direction. Why did they still meet? Ning Shu was speechless when he saw Qin Yanji in men's clothes. It was a girl, and there was a man standing next to Qin Yanji. This man was a little flirtatious, but one could tell at a glance that he was a man. If the client walked the path of a gentleman, then Situ Sun walked the path of an evil man. Women were more seductive, yet full of masculinity. Male fox demons were more or less the same. This kind of person was indeed more popular than an honest and well-behaved person like the client. Women don't love bad men. She said that she hoped that her boyfriend would be a warm man who loved her and tolerated her. But when she met such a bad man, her heart couldn't stop beating. Ning Shu opened his folding fan and used it to cover his face. Situ Sun narrowed his phoenix eyes and looked at the entire restaurant. He saw Ning Shu sitting by the window. There's a seat over there. Let's go share a table with the brother over there, boss. Situ Sun said, boss, very tactfully. His voice rolled between his teeth and came out with a mesmerizing ending from his red lips. It made people's hearts tremble. Okay. Qin Yanji walked over to Ning Shu and saluted Ning Shu. Sir, can we share a table? Ning Shu. Ning Shu generously closed his folding fan to reveal his face. He glanced at the flirtatious Situ Sun and quietly called out to Qin Yanji, little junior sister. Senior brother. Qin Yanji was very surprised and immediately said, Senior brother, I'm Tang Yuan. Are you blind? You called me little junior sister. Qin Yanji's back was facing Situ Sun, and she kept shooting looks at Ning Shu. Ning Shu curled his lips and lightly tapped his head with his fan. Look at me. I'm tired from traveling. Tang Yuan, why did you leave the village? Did master have any instructions? Master said to let me travel the Jianghu with senior brother. Qin Yanji said with her hands on her hips. Her girlish posture was off the charts. If a man had done this, he would have been cursed as a pervert. Ning Shu narrowed his eyes at Situ Sun. Situ Sun ignored Qin Yanji's girlish posture. It was as if he didn't see it. Situ Sun had long known that Qin Yanji was a girl, but he didn't expose her. He had always gotten along with her like a brother. Brothers were like that. You're Tang Yuan's senior brother. Sorry for the disrespect. I'm Situ Sun. Ning Shu saluted Situ Sun, and when their eyes met, there seemed to be sparks crackling. Brother Situ, where are you from? How do you know my little junior brother? Ning Shu opened his folding fan with a swish and asked Situ Sun elegantly. Situ Sun narrowed his eyes. I was born into a wealthy family. The only reason I know little brother Tang Yuan is because I traveled the Jianghu. You were born into a wealthy family, but brother Situ's parents allowed you to travel far? Traveling in ancient times was the most inconvenient and dangerous thing to do. If one's parents didn't travel far, who knew when they would return? My parents are open-minded people, and it's good to come out and see the world. This time, I'm going home to inherit the family fortune. I can't come out and see the world again in the future. Situ Sun smiled ambiguously. Can I sit down and talk? Brother Situ, please sit. I'm Chong Xiefeng of Wanjian Villa. This is my little junior brother, Tang Yuan, Ning Shu said. Okay, you guys don't need to exchange pleasantries. I'm so hungry. Can we eat first? You guys won't be able to finish talking until it's dark. Qin Yanji interrupted the two men's probing. Ning Shu smiled slightly and said gently, then little junior brother can order. You can eat whatever you want. Qin Yanji wasn't polite to her senior brother and ordered whatever was expensive. Ning Shu didn't even bat an eyelid. Qin Yanji ordered a table full of delicious food, chicken, duck, and fish. In order to pretend to be a man, she deliberately wolfed down the food. Ning Shu drank a little wine and was silent. Even men didn't have to eat like this. Situ Sun looked at Qin Yanji with interest in his eyes. He took out a handkerchief and wiped the corner of Qin Yanji's mouth. Qin Yanji was flustered by Situ Sun's affectionate expression. She quickly looked at Ning Shu, but Ning Shu was only sipping her wine. Ancient wine was like modern beer. It didn't have much alcohol content and couldn't make people drunk. Seeing that Ning Shu wasn't paying attention, Qin Yanji sighed in relief and took the handkerchief to wipe her mouth. I'll wipe it myself. Men should eat like this. Big mouthfuls of meat and big mouthfuls of wine. Too much was as bad as too little. Qin Yanji's acting was a bit too much. Chapter 1982. He wondered if Qin Yanji had some misunderstanding about men. Who said men were rude? Was Chong Xiefeng a rude person when she was with her fiancé every day? Ning Shu put down his wine glass and said dryly, Tang Yuan, go back to Wanjian Villa after dinner. You're still young, so it's not suitable for you to wander around. Senior brother, I'm following the master's orders to accompany you on your adventure. Are you going to disobey the master's orders? Although Qin Yanji spoke fiercely, she looked at Ning Shu with a pitiful and pleading look. Ning Shu said, Then what should I do? I'm afraid you'll get into trouble and get cheated. People's hearts are sinister. In this world, there are hungry wolves in human skin who specialize in biting people. Situ Sun smiled flirtatiously, but it was unclear if he understood the subtext in Ning Shu's words. Don't worry, I won't be cheated. I have you and a new follower. Situ is a very smart person, and his martial arts are good. He even chased away hooligans and cheats. He's following me to help the weak. Qin Yanji looked at Ning Shu pitifully. If you want me to send you back, I won't talk to you anymore. She was acting like a little girl again. Ning Shu couldn't help but facepalm. As long as you're happy. Thank you, senior. I know you're the best. Qin Yanji suddenly smiled and said, Senior, let's become sworn brothers. I promise you, Situ is a very, very good person. Qin Yanji patted her chest and promised. I'm your senior. If we become sworn brothers, wouldn't I be the boss? That won't do. I want to be the boss. Qin Yanji quickly shook her head. She wanted to be the boss. She wanted to taste the breeze of being the boss. Usually, when she saw her senior in the villa, the other senior brothers were all respectful to him. He was very impressive, and Qin Yanji was very envious. Qin Yanji had the temperament of a child. Ning Shu fanned himself and didn't say anything. Of course, they would be staying at the inn tonight. Ning Shu booked 3 rooms, 1 for each of them. Everyone knew that Qin Yanji was a girl. Ning Shu watched Situ Sun and Qin Yanji playing around in the courtyard of the inn. It was a game of rock, paper, scissors, where the loser flicked his forehead. It was very childish, but Qin Yanji was very happy playing. Ning Shu walked over to the 2 of them and said, "Little junior brother, I have something to tell you. Come with me." All right then. Qin Yanji didn't have enough fun. Usually, no one played these things with her at Wanjian Villa. Those senior and junior brothers only gave her some masks and candy figurines. It was really boring. This new little brother of his was too interesting, and he knew a lot of things. Ning Shu took Qin Yanji to the room and said, "You must go back. Situ Sun's identity is not ordinary. You will be deceived if you walk with him." "How can that be? Situ Sun has never lied to me." "Senior brother, you are too suspicious." Qin Yanji said unhappily, "Why do you have to send me back? I don't want to go back. You all want to lock me in a cage. I just want to come out and see." Qin Yanji was a bit annoyed. "Senior brother, you love me the most. Let me follow you. I promise I will do whatever you say." Ning Shu said expressionlessly, "No one wants to lock you up. It is just that it is not suitable for you to have any contact with Situ Sun right now. Senior brother, it is my business who I want to be friends with. Are you trying to stop me because Situ Sun is a man?" Qin Yanji looked at Ning Shu stubbornly. "My relationship with him is just that of a boss and a little brother. As your fiancé, of course I know your temperament, but I don't trust Situ Sun. Otherwise, I won't be able to explain it to Master." If something happened to Qin Yanji, there was no guarantee that Father Qin wouldn't take his anger out on her. She was going to inherit Wanjian Villa, become a tall, rich and handsome person, and walk to the peak of life. She had done everything she could, but if Qin Yanji wanted to die, then she had no one to blame but herself. "Situ Sun is a good person," Qin Yanji said with certainty. Qin Yanji said with certainty. "He's really, really nice. He even gives money to beggars so that they can find a way to make a living, get married, and have children." Qin Yanji was trying hard to make Ning Shu accept Situ Sun. Ning Shu grinned and asked, "How much money did he give?" "This beggar wanted to take advantage of me before and stole my purse. It was Situ Sun who helped me get it back. Don't you have martial arts? How did a beggar steal your purse? Was she disabled?" Qin Yanji was a bit embarrassed. "At first, I thought the beggar was pitiful and gave him some money. Then a lot of beggars surrounded me and my purse was stolen. Situ Sun helped me get my purse back and also gave the beggar 2 ingots of silver. He told him not to do such things and to be a good person," Qin Yanji said. Ning Shu's expression was a bit strange. Looking at Qin Yanji's expression, it seemed like she really thought Si Tian was a good person and that everyone in the world was good. There was no darkness, no evil, and no bad intentions. Ning Shu didn't know if that was good or bad. Ning Shu pinched his feet and calculated that this was a conspiracy. Situ Sun had obviously borrowed 2 ingots of silver to kill someone. If a beggar had so much money, other beggars would definitely covet it. Moreover, this much money was more than a beggar could earn in a lifetime. They definitely wouldn't let it go. When the time came, who knew what the outcome would be? No one would care if 2 beggars died. At most, they would be dragged to a mass grave and thrown away by the yamen runners. As for the silver, why would they give it to a beggar so easily? He even won the title of a good person in front of Qin Yanji. Ning Shu, I am so desperate. She really was a bad person. She thought everyone was a bad person. Qin Yanji thought everyone was a good person. I don't care what kind of person Situ Sun is, whether he is good or bad. You came out without Master's permission. Master must be very worried at Wanjian Villa. So you have to go back and not let Master worry. Time was peaceful, but she had to make a fuss. Send a letter back to father and say that you will take me with you to gain experience. Is that okay? Senior brother, I beg you. Qin Yanji grabbed Ning Shu's sleeve and shook it like a little girl. Qin Yanji acting cute like this really made people's hearts tremble. No. Ning Shu's heart didn't waver as he rejected her. Senior brother. Qin Yanji paused. Seeing that Ning Shu had no intention of compromising, she immediately turned and ran out of the inn in anger. Ning Shu's spiritual power kept tracking Qin Yanji until she ran out of the range of his spiritual power. Ning Shu couldn't be bothered to care where she went. According to the plot, she should have gone to a brothel to rescue a pitiful woman who had fallen into the dust of prostitution. She beat up the madam and the slave. Chapter 1983. Ning Shu was determined to teach Qin Yanji a lesson this time, and it was within reason. He couldn't let Father Qin blame her for being protective of his child. Ning Shu leisurely washed up, then sat cross-legged on the bed to cultivate. However, the suppression in this world was very strong, so Ning Shu's cultivation progress wasn't very fast. Sidu Sun, who was next door, wasn't in his room at all. He didn't know where he went the whole night, but he didn't come back until morning. He even snuck in through the window and pretended to have just woken up to open the door. Ning Shu ordered breakfast. Situ Sun squinted his eyes and sized up Ning Shu. This man looked very upright and reliable. He was the eldest disciple of the 10,000 Swords Manor. Qin Song didn't have a son, so if nothing unexpected happened, this man would inherit the 10,000 Swords Manor. The main business of the Wanjian Villa was to forge swords, and all kinds of famous swords. Every time they were forged, people in the martial arts world would fight over them. Ning Shu looked up and saw Situ Sun standing at the door. He curled his lips and said, "Brother Situ, do you want to eat together?" "Sure." Situ Sun didn't hesitate at all. He stepped into the room and sat down. "Where's Tang Yuan? Why don't I see him?" "He's probably still sleeping in. When he's at home, he likes to sleep in. The other disciples have to get up early to practice, but he sleeps until noon," Ning Shu said. "I see." Situ Sun saw that this man was focused on eating. He chewed slowly and only had eyes for these few dishes. He was really a handsome man. This man was Qin Yanji's fiancé. He was steady and reliable. No wonder Qin Song wanted to give the position to him. "Brother Situ, aren't you going to eat?" Ning Shu turned around and smiled. "It's a bit strange for you to look at me like that." "Ha!" Situ Sun stood up. "I'll go get my boss to eat. He hasn't eaten yet, so how can I, as his subordinate, eat first?" As Situ Sun spoke, he observed Ning Shu's expression. He was testing Ning Shu's feelings towards Qin Yanji. He was even deliberately angering Ning Shu. Ning Shu was just eating and casually said, "She can't be woken up. She has a bad temper when she wakes up. When she's sleeping at home, no one dares to disturb her." Sidu Sun frowned and felt a bit surprised. Was he not afraid that he would suddenly barge into Qin Yanji's room and find out that Qin Yanji was a woman? With Qin Yanji's disguise, as long as one wasn't blind, even a blind person could hear that she was a woman. Or did Sidu Sun not care about his fiancée at all? "My boss is so naughty." Sidu Sun went to the room next door to call Qin Yanji, but found no one in the room. A sinister look flashed across Situ Sun's face. What was going on? Where was he? Could Chong Xiefeng have hidden her? Situ Sun quickly ran over and said to Ning Shu anxiously, "Brother Xiefeng, my boss is missing." "Missing?" Ning Shu was a bit surprised. He put down his bowl and chopsticks. "She woke up so early? That shouldn't be. Could she have gone somewhere to have fun?" Ning Shu picked up his sword and said to Sidu Sun, "Let's look around. This guy really makes people worry." Sidu Sun looked at Ning Shu suspiciously. Wasn't he the one who had hidden her? Ning Shu left the inn and pulled people around to see if they had seen a short boy with a sword in his hand. No matter how he asked, there were no clues. Sidu Sun saw that Ning Shu was so anxious to find Qin Yanji, so he thought about it and realized that it probably wasn't him who had hidden her. That girl had run off somewhere. Situ Sun's figure flashed and disappeared into the crowd on the street. When he arrived at the alley, he called out his men and asked them to look for Qin Yanji. They had to find her. Along the way, Situ Sun knew that Qin Yanji was a very simple and gullible person. What if she was deceived by someone? That stupid girl could only be bullied by her. Moreover, she still had to avenge her adoptive father. Nothing could happen to that girl. Under Ning Shu's spiritual power, Situ Sun's movements were clearly seen. He should have walked further away and not been within her spiritual range. Ning Shu walked to the front of a brothel. Because it was daytime, not many people went to the brothel. It would only be lively at night. Ning Shu released her spiritual power and scanned every corner of the brothel inch by inch. She could see everything clearly. The spiritual power detector was much more powerful than the spiritual power detector. With a sweep, all the scenes appeared in his mind. She wasn't here. Ning Shu changed to another brothel. He scanned. Nothing. He changed to another brothel. There was nothing. After scanning many brothels in a row, there was only one brothel left. This brothel had guests even during the day, and there were many guests staying the night. Ning Shu scanned and found many scenes that were not suitable for children. It was probably early morning practice. Then Ning Shu saw a battered Qin Yanji locked in a room in the backyard. The room looked abandoned and unoccupied. Qin Yanji was tied up and her hair was disheveled. She was in a very sorry state. A few slaves were guarding her, as well as the procuress. The procuress pointed at Qin Yanji with her hands on her hips and cursed endlessly. "Do you know who I am? My little brother, my eldest brother, found me. You'll suffer." Qin Yanji puffed himself up at his own cost, hoping that this would scare the other party. Yesterday, she saw a woman being thrown out of the brothel. Because this woman was sick, and it was syphilis, she was directly kicked out of the brothel. Qin Yanji couldn't stand by and saw injustice on the road, so he pulled out a knife to save her. He fought with the brothel, wanting to get some money for this poor woman. However, the procuress was a person who mingled in brothels. Her eyes were like poison. With one eye, she could see that this was a girl, and a heaven-grade beauty. The procuress, who had a business mind, immediately came up with several business plans in her mind to create Qin Yanji to ensure that Qin Yanji was turned into a money tree. The procuress didn't care about the women in the brothel who were sick with syphilis. She ordered people to catch Qin Yanji. Qin Yanji had martial arts, so ordinary people couldn't get close to her. She almost made the entire brothel a mess. In the end, the procuress had no choice but to call out the masters stationed in the brothel. The masters made a move and captured Qin Yanji. Qin Yanji's martial arts were more than enough to deal with people from all walks of life. However, it was very difficult to deal with masters, and there were several masters. In any case, this brothel wasn't simple. Qin Yanji was caught and locked up there. The procuress was going to grind her hard bones. Every woman who sold their body in the brothel was unwilling at first. No woman wanted to be turned into a brothel, but the brothel had ways to torture these women. They took out the women's hard bones, cut off their thoughts, and made them obediently work and serve their customers. Chapter 1984. The madam was now training Qin Yanji and carrying out all kinds of training. She wanted to train Qin Yanji into an obedient girl. Even a chaste woman would be trained into a coquettish prostitute. There were all kinds of methods. "You'd better know what's good for you, or you'll regret it," the madam said in a deep voice, "or I'll get someone to take your virginity." Speaking of taking her virginity, the madam was very distressed. The first night of such a beauty was simply sky-high, and it was worthless to be taken by a slave. This was the last way to break a woman's backbone. When a woman was defiled and thought she was unclean, some people wanted to die, and some people had nothing to lose and obediently received guests in the brothel. These women felt that they had been defiled from the bottom of their hearts and had no right to happiness. Destroying a person from the bottom of their heart. Qin Yanji was dumbfounded and immediately sneered, "What a shameless old witch! Do you know who I am? You'll get it from me. I don't care who you are. When you go to the Piaoxiang courtyard, even if you're a princess and have your virginity taken, You'll still have to obediently receive guests. It's best if you don't take the easy way out. The madam wouldn't be scared by a little girl. Besides, the Piaoxiang courtyard was not to be trifled with. There were plenty of masters. Ning Shu climbed over the wall of the backyard and went to the woodshed to observe the situation inside. Ning Shu found Qin Yanji, but didn't immediately rescue her. It was good to let Qin Yanji suffer a little. It wasn't that Qin Yanji was a detestable person. Her biggest mistake seemed to be kindness. She couldn't bear to hurt two men and wanted to have the best of both worlds. One was her fiancé who had grown up with her. He had sacrificed a lot for her and couldn't bear to hurt him. The other was the man she loved. Therefore, it was even more confusing. On a deeper level, Qin Yanji coveted the taste of love and Chong Xiefeng's warmth. It seemed that in order to save Chong Xiefeng, she had compromised time and time again to leave with Situ Sun. It was really tiresome. Why was this kindness called kindness? It wasn't kindness at all. I won't listen to you, old witch. How many women are you afraid of? Qin Yanji despised the madam, as if the madam was a disgusting thing. The brothel keeper's face twitched and she chuckled. In my brothel, there are people like you who are unwilling to be a prostitute, but there are also people who are sold here and can't survive. They are here to earn a living, and they are doing the prostitution business. So what? Qin Yanji looked at him with disdain. I'm not afraid of you. My senior will find me soon. Let's just say that your eldest senior brother is here. There are plenty of experts here. By the time your eldest senior brother finds this place, everything will be too late. You don't want to beat up a tortoise slave, do you? The brothel keeper pointed at a few burly and fierce-looking thugs. These people are here to serve you and let you experience the pleasure of a man and a woman. It's a wonderful feeling. You're shameless. Qin Yanji's face was red with anger. She didn't want to become a prostitute. You'll regret it. What's there to regret? I'll ask you again, do you agree or not? The brothel keeper asked. If it really doesn't work, I'll get someone to break your tendons and make you lie in bed to receive customers. Your face is enough anyway. Qin Yanji's face was pale, and she kept calling for her senior brother in her heart. If her tendons were broken, her martial arts would be crippled, and she would become a cripple who would have difficulty walking. Just thinking about it scared Qin Yanji. Do you want to become a beauty with all your limbs intact, or a cripple who eats, drinks, and pees in bed? Think about it carefully. The brothel keeper threatened Qin Yanji. Qin Yanji kept praying in her heart that someone would come quickly to save her. Senior brother, Situ Sun, save me. Ning Shu still stood there without moving. Qin Yanji was completely fine now. At most, she was frightened. The brothel keeper couldn't bear to leave a scar or blemish on a beauty's body. How could a defective product be sold at a good price? It was good to scare her a little more. If she wanted to become a naive child, she could only be raised in captivity and not be allowed to come into contact with the outside world. Otherwise, it would be a scene of chaos. If she wanted to travel outside, there were some things that she had to know. Ning Shu didn't understand why people tried to avoid and deny the darkness. There was black, white, and gray. Such naivety really made people feel helpless. Ning Shu leaned against the wall and used her spiritual power to pay attention to the situation in the room. She definitely couldn't let anyone really hurt Qin Yanji. If that happened, it would be her responsibility again. Father Qin would probably feed her a bottle of poison. Although Qin Yanji was afraid, out of her trust in her younger brother and senior brother, she felt that these two people would definitely find her. She had some faint hope in her heart. The brothel keeper pursed her lips and directly said to the thugs, "Break her body." At worst, she would make less money. Although she lost her virginity auction, she could remove this girl's spine. Qin Yanji was fed something like bone-softening powder and had no strength in her body. She saw a few burly and ugly thugs rubbing their hands and walking towards her. One by one, they looked at her with disgusted eyes. Qin Yanji had never experienced such a thing, and it was a few men against her. Qin Yanji was so scared that she cried, but her mouth was immediately covered. The men's hands were rough and rubbed the skin on her face until it hurt. There was also an unbearable stench of sweat on their hands. Several people touched her body and tore her clothes. The brothel keeper watched from the side with a sneer on the corner of her mouth. It made Qin Yanji feel so ashamed that she wanted to die. She was so scared and terrified that tears flowed out of the corners of Qin Yanji's eyes. She felt that she was inexplicably locked up here. The development of the situation was simply beyond her expectations. How could she have to be naked to such disgusting men now? Rip. Qin Yanji's clothes were violently torn apart by the thugs, revealing the peach-pink doo-doo underneath. It made the men's breaths quicken. Her skin was as white as snow, and she was as beautiful as a fairy. However, these thugs weren't in a hurry to make a move. They knew that the boss was scaring the woman, so they were familiar with this kind of thing. They tore Qin Yanji's clothes into pieces. Every time there was the sound of cloth being torn apart, Qin Yanji's body couldn't help but tremble, and the look of despair on her face deepened. "Senior brother, Sisun, where are you? Save me." When they were about to take off Qin Yanji's pants, Qin Yanji's psychological defense completely collapsed. She looked at the brothel keeper standing to the side and began to cry. The brothel keeper ignored Qin Yanji's gaze. At a time like this, people still had hope. Only when all hope was completely extinguished would they be obedient. Rip. Qin Yanji's pants were torn apart by the thugs, and her face was distorted with fear. Chapter 1985. Qin Yanji, who was in the room, was so scared that she cried loudly. Her fear made Qin Yanji lose all hope. She hated the procuress and the disgusting thugs. She wanted to tear these people into pieces. Why did they treat her like this? Why didn't they come to save her? Even the oldest brother she trusted didn't come to save her. Why didn't they come to save her? If she lost her virginity, it wouldn't look good on the oldest brother. Would he stop caring about her because of that? Even if Qin Yanji was a gangster and didn't care about trifles, she valued her chastity very much. If she lost her virginity to such people, she wouldn't let them go even if she became a ghost. Feeling the coldness between her legs, her exposed skin shivered and goosebumps appeared one after another. These men's touch made Qin Yanji so disgusted that she wanted to vomit. Qin Yanji felt extremely wronged. Ning Shu, who was outside, didn't feel anything. Afraid of being discovered, he jumped onto the tree next to the room. The indecency in the room continued. 3 thugs took off their pants and unbuckled their belts. Their pants slid to the ground. Qin Yanji was forced to look at these people. Her eyes widened and then she desperately closed them. She probably saw something that hurt her eyes. These naked thugs approached Qin Yanji and rubbed against her body. Qin Yanji felt that these disgusting men actually stood up and were about to attack her. Qin Yanji was sandwiched in the middle by these men and was stripped naked. What a shocking thing this was. Qin Yanji was so embarrassed that she wanted to die. These men were walking around in front of her. The procuress watched from the side with a cold smile on her face as she looked at the struggling and terrified Qin Yanji. She was indifferent to such a scene. After all, the procuress was an experienced and knowledgeable woman. Many of the customers even had a heavy taste. This was nothing. However, Qin Yanji was an innocent child. She had never experienced such a thing. Not to mention Qin Yanji, even normal girls had never experienced such a thing. A few disgusting men were walking around naked in front of her. Disgusting, so disgusting that she wanted to explode. Qin Yanji's face was ashen. She wanted to bite her tongue and commit suicide. Why didn't anyone save her? Even when she was fighting for justice for a brothel girl, this girl didn't appear and didn't even think of saving her. Qin Yanji was angry and aggrieved. She was too ungrateful. She was trying to save people and uphold justice, but these people had let her down. She gave the beggar money, but the beggar took away her purse. She wanted to seek justice for a poor woman who was infected with syphilis, but she fell into this demon's den. But that woman didn't come to save her, nor did she plead with the brothel keeper. Qin Yanji felt defeated and resentful. Everyone hoped that they would be treated gently by the world and that their deep feelings would not be let down. Qin Yanji felt like she had been let down. The senior brother who loved her so much didn't appear at this moment. Also, Why didn't the little brother she had just acknowledged appear? Qin Yanji wanted to bite her tongue, but she gave up after trying twice. One time, she bit the tip of her tongue and it hurt a lot. Qin Yanji looked at the madam with pleading eyes, but the madam ignored him and wanted to add more fuel to the fire. The bouncer's hand caressed Qin Yanji's private area and even pinched a sensitive spot. It made Qin Yanji's body tremble. Her skin flushed red from anger. Qin Yanji was so ashamed and angry that she bit her tongue. Biting the tongue was very painful, and Qin Yanji almost fainted from the pain. However, biting the tongue wouldn't kill her, and Qin Yanji had been drugged with bone-softening powder. Her body was weak to begin with, so even if she bit her tongue, it wouldn't be too hard. Boss, she bit her tongue to commit suicide. The bouncer let go of Qin Yanji's hand, and blood gushed out from the corner of Qin Yanji's mouth. The madam frowned. This woman was really stubborn. The other bouncers scattered and didn't dare to touch Qin Yanji anymore. They covered their penis with both hands and stood to the side. Ning Shu narrowed his eyes and used his mental power to check Qin Yanji's injury. Her tongue was broken, and the bleeding was a little scary. The wound was actually not big. The madam reached out and pinched Qin Yanji's mouth open, and blood came out. "Put on your pants and get a doctor," the madam said to the bouncers. The bouncers immediately put on their pants and were as obedient as cats in front of the madam. Two of the bouncers went to get a doctor, leaving two people to guard Qin Yanji. The madam looked at Qin Yanji, who was covered in sweat. "You really think you can die here?" She couldn't live or die. Ning Shu gently jumped down from the tree. It was time to move, or it would be troublesome to bring a doctor when she got her hands on her. Ning Shu wasn't afraid of being intercepted. After all, Qin Yanji ran away this time because she wanted to send Qin Yanji back to Wanjian Villa. Qin Yanji didn't agree and chose such a wayward way. Those who couldn't get were in an uproar, while those who were favored were fearless. Qin Yanji knew that eldest brother would compromise. After all these things happened, the person who entrusted her had to suffer the consequences. He indulged his fiancée and protected her, but in his fiancée's heart, he could do whatever he wanted. Perhaps Qin Yanji didn't think that way, but she subconsciously felt that way. Even if she wanted to leave with Situ Sun, she used Chong Xiefeng as an excuse. "It was because he threatened her with your life. I only left with him for your sake. I was forced." This was the most disgusting thing, and she left with Situ Sun every time. The trauma in Chong Xiefeng's heart was unimaginable. She knew that eldest brother loved her, and that was why he was like this. She felt sorry in her heart, but she also thought that eldest brother would forgive her. He even promised her in their next lives. She met him in this life, and she would meet him again in the next. Perhaps God had some deep hatred for Chong Xiefeng. After such a commotion, Chong Xiefeng was scared out of her wits. She didn't dare to mention sending her back and giving Qin Yanji another chance to be with Situ Sun. They could go on the road together and do interesting things together. This time, she was the hero saving the damsel in distress. Ning Shu used his spiritual energy to condense thin needles and shot them in through the window. One of the brothel owners and two of the hired thugs fell to the ground. Ning Shu climbed in through the window and took off his clothes to cover Qin Yanji. Eldest brother. Because Qin Yanji's tongue was injured, she couldn't speak clearly. Blood mixed with saliva flowed out. Qin Yanji's beautiful eyes were filled with tears. Finally, her eyes rolled back and she fainted. Ning Shu carried Qin Yanji. Using his spiritual energy, he jumped over the wall and escaped from the brothel. He carried Qin Yanji to the inn and ran into Situ Sun on the way. Situ Sun was irritated because he couldn't find Qin Yanji for a long time. Now that he saw the unconscious Qin Yanji being carried by Chong Xiefeng, his expression immediately turned ugly. He asked, "What did you do to her?" Chapter 1986. What do you mean what happened? Ning Shu carried Qin Yanji back to the room and placed her on the bed. He covered her body with a blanket. What happened to her? Ning Shu questioned Situ Sun. Ning Shu was impatient. "Don't bother me. How would I know what happened? She's been locked up in the Piao Xiang courtyard." Piao Xiang courtyard? Situ Sun froze, then turned and ran out of the inn. Ning Shu had the proprietress of the inn help Qin Yanji bathe and freshen up. After all, she was now a man, and there was a need to be careful between men and women. Although they were engaged, they weren't married yet. Situ Sun arrived at the Piao Xiang courtyard with a terrible expression. He took out a sign and asked to see the procuress. The procuress had been knocked unconscious by Ning Shu. When she heard that the boss was here, she didn't care about anything else and went to see the big boss behind the scenes. Every sect had a business that they relied on to survive. This brothel was the business of the demon sect. Brothels were the most profitable, and they could gather all kinds of information and turn it into intelligence. Normal martial arts sects wouldn't do this kind of business because of their reputation. However, the demon sect didn't care about hypocrisy. They did whatever could make them money. In modern times, the demon sect was equivalent to a gang. They dealt with things simply and crudely. Situ Sun changed his playful and innocent appearance in front of Qin Yanji. He pretended to be an ordinary rich man, but now his expression was gloomy. The masters stationed at the brothel all came to pay their respects to Situ Sun. When they heard that these people were the ones who had captured Qin Yanji, they each gave them a slap, causing them to spit out blood. They clutched their chests and knelt on one knee to thank Situ Sun. "Thank you for sparing our lives, sect master. Get lost. Why isn't the procuress here yet?" Situ Sun said with a sullen expression. His originally flirtatious face was now full of sternness. He was like an Azura, and it made people shiver. The brothel keeper scrambled over, kneeling on the ground with a plop as she gave Situ Sun a grand salute, prostrating herself on the ground. "Did you capture a girl dressed as a man?" Situ Sun asked in a low voice. The brothel keeper pondered in her heart. Could it be that the cult master has taken a fancy to that girl and is now here to ask for her? But that girl has been rescued by someone else. She immediately trembled in fear and said that she was no longer here. "Tell me the specifics of the matter." He mainly wanted to know if Qin Yanji had already been defiled by a man and lost her chastity. The brothel keeper did not dare to conceal anything and spilled everything out like beans. Cult master could crush her to death with just one finger. When Situ Sun heard that Qin Yanji had actually been groped by the slaves and had even taken off his pants, his face was as black as the bottom of a pot. He was flustered and exasperated, so he directly ordered people to chop off the hands of the 4 slaves. He chopped them into minced meat and made them into meatballs for the 4 thugs to eat. Situ Sun thought of Qin Yanji as his woman. Seeing his woman being touched by such a man, Situ Sun was furious. He cut off the hands of the 4 slaves, pressed his hands on the head of the madam, and twisted her head off. Situ Sun threw the head of the procuress onto the ground and ordered his men to drag the corpse out to feed the dogs. When the brothel lost its procuress, the cult would send a new procuress over. After finishing these things, Situ Sun bathed and changed his clothes to wash off the smell of blood on his body. Then he returned to the inn. Ning Shu used a silver needle to prick Qin Yanji awake. When Qin Yanji woke up, she closed her eyes and screamed. She waved her arms and did not let anyone near her. Ning Shu watched silently by the bed. He was not going to eat a fist, nor was he going to shake Qin Yanji's shoulder. When Qin Yanji finally stopped making a fuss, she opened her eyes and saw Ning Shu. She immediately burst into tears and threw herself into Ning Shu's arms. "Senior brother, I'm so scared. I'm so scared." "It's good that you know to be scared." Ning Shu patted Qin Yanji's back. "What?" Qin Yanji looked up at Ning Shu with teary eyes. What did he mean by it was good that she knew to be scared? How could eldest senior brother be so cold? "I'm saying it's really scary." Ning Shu said, "Don't run around again next time. No matter what, you have to return to Wanjian Villa. Otherwise, this kind of thing will happen again." Qin Yanji was a bit hesitant. She still had lingering fears from what had happened before. Looking at Chong Xiefeng's handsome face, she couldn't bring herself to say that she was already dirty. Ning Shu said considerately, "Don't worry. I rushed to save you at the last moment." Qin Yanji was both embarrassed and relieved. She bit her lip and said angrily, "Eldest senior brother, did you kill those despicable people?" Qin Yanji trembled with anger at the thought of those dirty hands wandering around her body. Her stomach churned, and she felt like vomiting. Ning Shu only said, "At the time, I was focused on saving you. I didn't care about those people. They were doomed to destruction. Naturally, someone would take care of them." Those people hadn't provoked Ning Shu, so Ning Shu wouldn't do anything. Those people had bullied Qin Yanji, not her. Therefore, those people had nothing to do with her. Their existence was reasonable. Qin Yanji's hands were tangled together. Her fingers were twisted together, and her face was pale. "Eldest senior brother, why?" "I was just saving people," Qin Yanji said to Ning Shu. "Even if you want to help someone, you have to see what they need. That woman might have just been kicked out of the brothel. But after you caused such a scene, the brothel suffered losses. They will definitely vent their anger on you and that woman. Maybe that woman is already dead." Ning Shu said each word slowly. His voice was so low that it made Qin Yanji tremble. "I'll take you back to Wanjian Villa." Ning Shu patted Qin Yanji's back. "If something like this happens again, how can I explain it to Master? You were almost defiled by a group of hooligans." "Don't say it, eldest senior brother. Don't tell Father about this. Father's health isn't good." Qin Yanji quickly reminded Ning Shu. Every time she thought about it, Qin Yanji wanted to skin herself alive. Moreover, someone had touched her sensitive place. Qin Yanji was ashamed and angry. She wanted nothing more than to chop those scumbags into pieces. How could there be such evil people in the world? Situ Sun came back and saw Qin Yanji leaning into Chong Xiefeng's arms in women's clothing. Qin Yanji was beautiful in women's clothing. But Situ Sun immediately entered the room and looked at Qin Yanji suspiciously. "Are you boss?" Qin Yanji withdrew from Ning Shu's arms and said to Situ Sun, "I'm not Tang Yuan. I'm Qin Yanji. Situ, I'm actually a woman." "Oh, so you're a woman. But boss, you're so beautiful in women's clothing. Where have you been? Brother Xiefeng and I have been looking for you. Are you okay?" Situ Sun looked Qin Yanji up and down. "It's good that you're okay. Brother Xiefeng and I have been looking for you like crazy. Boss, don't run off alone next time." Chapter 1987. When Situ Sun found out that Qin Yanji was a girl, his face was full of disbelief. Then he looked like he couldn't believe that his boss was a girl. Ning Shu was speechless. Keep pretending. Start your performance." Seeing Situ Sun like this, Qin Yanji's gloomy heart suddenly felt happy. Seeing Situ Sun's shocked expression, Qin Yanji couldn't help but say, "You really are an idiot." Situ Sun chuckled. "Boss, you're not hurt, are you?" Qin Yanji didn't know what she was thinking, so she didn't tell Situ Sun about the brothel. Perhaps it was because they weren't familiar with each other, so she could vent in front of Chong Xiefeng. But she didn't say it in front of Situ Sun because she subconsciously wanted to maintain her image. She was afraid that Situ Sun would look down on her, so she wanted to maintain a perfect image. It was just like in front of someone she liked. "Brother Situ, I'm taking sister back to Wanjian Villa. What about you? Are you going home?" Ning Shu asked Situ Sun. "Sister and I are engaged." Situ Sun's expression darkened for a moment, and Qin Yanji was also unhappy that Ning Shu revealed their identities in front of so many people and in front of Situ Sun. Situ Sun's expression was a bit sad as he said to Qin Yanji, "You have a fiancé? Brother Xiefeng is very outstanding." "Thank you for the compliment." Ning Shu accepted Situ Sun's insincere words. "We're leaving tomorrow." Qin Yanji bit her lip and looked at Situ Sun without speaking. Situ Sun smiled and said, "I haven't been to Wanjian Villa yet. I don't know if you'll welcome me." Qin Yanji was about to speak when Ning Shu interrupted her. "Of course you'll be welcome. But when I go back this time, I'm going to marry sister. I might be a bit busy and won't be able to take care of you." Situ Sun's expression darkened, and he finally said, "I wish you happiness." "Thank you." Ning Shu smiled and said, "Come to the wedding." "Of course." Situ Sun then said to Qin Yanji, "Boss, when the time comes, I'll definitely prepare a big present for you." Qin Yanji's face was a bit pale. Situ Sun had actually said something like that. She had some unclear feelings for Situ Sun in her heart. Seeing Situ Sun like this made her feel disappointed and sad. There was a feeling of rejection. Was he heartbroken? Then boss, let's part ways here. When the time comes, I will definitely attend your wedding. You have to wait for me, your little brother. Situ Sun turned and left. Qin Yanji suddenly felt a little pain in her heart. She couldn't help but ask Ning Shu, why did you say that in front of Situ? Ning Shu's expression was a little confused. Why can't I tell you? We're already engaged and we'll get married sooner or later. What's wrong with that? Why are you angry? Qin Yanji was even angrier, but she couldn't say it out loud. After all, she was engaged to Chong Xiefeng. She couldn't control her own heart, and she couldn't help it. She felt sorry for her fiancé, Chong Xiefeng. Therefore, Qin Yanji could only sulk on her own. She was angry at herself and also angry at Ning Shu for revealing their identities. Ning Shu didn't seem to know that Qin Yanji was angry at all. He packed his things and took Qin Yanji back to Wanjian Villa early the next morning. On the way, Qin Yanji was listless, as if she had been hit by frost. She was either looking around, hoping that Situ Sun, this little brother, would suddenly appear out of nowhere. Ning Shu didn't care about Qin Yanji's abnormality at all. He hurried on without stopping. Even when they arrived at Wanjian Villa, Situ, who Qin Yanji was thinking about, didn't appear. Old man Qin called Qin Yanji over and scolded her for being immature. Qin Yanji was heartbroken and feeling terrible. She felt like the world had lost its color, and she didn't care about anything. We'll get married in 3 days, Old man Qin said. Before you came back, I already sent out the invitations. Ning Shu raised his eyebrows and looked at Old man Qin. Old man Qin's face was a bit pale. There must be something wrong with his body. When Qin Yanji heard that she was really going to get married, and that it was going to be in a hurry for 3 days, her heart instantly exploded. I don't want to get married. I don't want to. Ning Shu looked at Qin Yanji and asked, why? Little sister can give me a reason not to get married. Could it be that you've really been bewitched by Situ Sun? Ning Shu's sudden words exposed Qin Yanji's hidden thoughts under the sun. It made her feel embarrassed and angry. I didn't, Qin Yanji said. Old man Qin felt that something was wrong and immediately asked, who is this Situ Sun? This Situ Sun is little sister. When she escaped from Wanjian Villa, she met a man on the way. He said that he was from a rich family and wanted to see the world. He and Yanji had similar interests, so they became sworn brothers. Ning Shu and Qin Song cupped their hands and said. When old man Qin heard this, he immediately felt that something was wrong. You have feelings for this Situ Sun? I didn't. We're just in a normal relationship, Qin Yanji retorted. Ning Shu continued. Your disciple bought some information from all-knowing man in Jianghu. I learned that this Situ Sun's true identity is that of a protector of the demon sect. He's also the leader of the demon sect. Qin Yanji's mind seemed to be in a knot. Situ Sun was actually a member of the demon sect and the leader of the demon sect. But his actions didn't seem like a member of the demon sect at all. He didn't act as recklessly as a member of the demon sect. He's not a member of the demon sect. Qin Yanji shook her head in denial. Old man Qin's face was a bit pale. He gripped the armrest of the chair so tightly that his knuckles turned white. He said in a low voice, from now on, you're not allowed to have any contact with members of the demon sect, especially Situ Sun. Qin Yanji's eyes were brimming with tears. She turned and ran out of the room, wiping her tears as she ran. Old man Qin stopped her and locked her in the room. The wedding was in 3 days. Old man Qin said to Ning Shu tiredly, Nianji is young and doesn't know any better. You have to teach her more in the future. Don't let her have any contact with members of the demon sect. Our Wanjian Villa is a prestigious sect. We can't collude with the demon sect. Otherwise, we'll become the target of public criticism. Ning Shu nodded. Don't worry, master. Your disciple understands. Go and prepare. The wedding is in 3 days. Old man Qin waved his hand. Ning Shu cupped his hands and left the room. Ning Shu went to Qin Yanji's room. There were people guarding the door. Ning Shu was stopped. The villa master said that no one is allowed to enter. Let me in. I'll be out in a bit, Ning Shu said. The disciple guarding the door was a bit hesitant. After all, this was the future heir of the villa. I'll be out in a bit. I'll take responsibility if anything happens, Ning Shu said. The guard opened the door. Qin Yanji was sitting in the room with her back to Ning Shu. He knew she was angry just by looking at her back. Damn it. If anyone is angry, it should be me, okay? Chapter 1988. How infuriating. Ning Shu said, Sidu Sun isn't just the leader of the demon sect. Do you know whose business the brothel that arrested you is? It's the demon sect's business. Qin Yanji's body trembled. She turned around to look at Ning Shu. What do you mean? You mean Sidu Sun ordered those people to arrest me and humiliate me like that? I didn't say this in front of Master because I didn't want Master to worry. I don't know if this matter was instigated by Sidu Sun, but Sidu Sun is a very dangerous person. You can't have any contact with him. Based on the current situation, he deliberately approached you and used a fake identity to get close to you. Ning Shu ignored Qin Yanji's increasingly pale face and continued, What do you think his motive is? Qin Yanji's heart was in a mess. When she thought of the flirtatious and interesting Sidu Sun, she felt uncomfortable and resentful. This was the first time she had such feelings for someone, but the other party was a member of the demon sect and had come with a motive. Why are you telling me this? Qin Yanji was angry that Ning Shu was telling her this. Senior, can we not get married first? My heart is in a mess right now. Don't worry, I will marry you, but not now. Qin Yanji felt the world was dark. She was heartbroken and in pain. Ning Shu said dryly, The invitations have already been sent out. In 3 days, all the sects will come to attend the wedding. This concerns the reputation of Wanjian Manor. Master, your reputation and mine. You don't want Wanjian Manor to become a laughingstock, do you? Before Qin Yanji could finish speaking, tears fell first. Senior, I'm not ready. I'm not ready to get married. We are engaged. We will become husband and wife sooner or later. After so many years of preparation, you're still not ready? She just didn't want to get married. Senior, my heart hurts. My heart hurts so much. Qin Yanji cried and apologized to Ning Shu. Senior, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm the one who should be upset. Ning Shu was indifferent to Qin Yanji's tears. Little junior sister, rest well. We'll get married in 3 days. Ning Shu wouldn't let her go because he cared about Qin Yanji. He wouldn't let her go, only to be fed poison by old man Qin and be in excruciating pain. Senior brother. Qin Yanji looked at Ning Shu in shock. She hadn't expected Ning Shu to be so indifferent. Senior brother, you've changed. You've changed too. Ning Shu left the room and the guard closed the door. Qin Yanji's cries could be heard in the room. Ning Shu said to Qin Yanji through the window, Little junior sister, I will be good to you. Qin Yanji kept crying. In the following days, Qin Yanji went on a hunger strike and refused to eat until she was released. Grandfather Qin was determined this time. No matter what Qin Yanji did, she couldn't change the fact that they were going to get married in 3 days. Ning Shu didn't care about her and continued to cultivate. Qin Yanji, who had been loved by everyone before, was now in a situation where no one cared about her. Qin Yanji was so hungry that she lay on the bed, but no one cared about her. Ning Shu saw that it was about time. He should go take care of her. Otherwise, his father-in-law wouldn't be satisfied. You don't care about my daughter? I can ignore her, but you can bear to let her starve? So Ning Shu brought some vegetables and porridge to see Qin Yanji. He did go, but whether Qin Yanji ate or not wasn't his business. Of course, Ning Shu also ran to grandfather Qin and said, Master, why don't we forget about the marriage? Little junior sister doesn't want to get married now. She's not even eating now. I feel bad seeing her like this. No, now all the sects know that you're going to get married, so we can't forget about it. She's feeling bad now, but in the future, she'll know that I'm doing this for her own good. You're the man she can entrust her life to. Grandfather Qin shook his head and didn't intend to compromise at all. Ning Shu's face was full of helplessness. 3 days later, Qin Yanji was dressed in a wedding robe and was about to get married. Wanjian Villa was bustling with noise and excitement. All the sects and clans came to the wedding banquet with lavish gifts. Ning Shu received them at the door in a red robe, his face full of smiles. Seeing a signal flare go off in the direction of the back mountain, Ning Shu smiled and said to Grandfather Qin, "Master, I'll go take a look somewhere else." But Grandfather Qin was also dressed very jubilantly today and had a smile on his face. Ning Shu went to the bride's room. As expected, Qin Yanji wasn't there. She had run to the back mountain of Wanjian Villa. Ning Shu chuckled and didn't say anything. He took his sword and went to the back mountain. In the original plot, Chong Xiefeng let Qin Yanji go and was drugged by Grandfather Qin to force Qin Yanji to come back and get married. Chong Xiefeng's combat power was reduced by half, so she was defeated. Situ Sun used Chong Xiefeng's life to threaten Qin Yanji to leave with her. This time, it was still unknown who would win. In the forest, a woman in a wedding dress shouted angrily at a man, "You're from the demon sect. You lied to me." Situ Sun nodded. "I'm from the demon sect. I want you to leave with me now. I like you, so you're mine. Come with me." "No, I'm getting married and you lied to me." Qin Yanji's heart was in a mess. She was happy to see Situ Sun, but she was also angry at being lied to. There was also the matter of the brothel. Qin Yanji wanted to ask but couldn't. Was it Situ Sun's orders? "Don't you like me? Do you dare say you don't have any feelings for me in your heart?" Situ Sun's face was full of confidence. He was certain that Qin Yanji loved him. This demon, where was his underling from before? The big bad wolf revealed his true colors. It made Qin Yanji feel very hopeless. She did have feelings for Situ Sun. "Then come with me." Situ Sun reached out to pull Qin Yanji, but Qin Yanji shook his hand off and took 2 steps back. "You liar, liar. Brother Situ, why didn't you take the proper path? Why did you come to this corner to see my wife?" Ning Shu walked out of the forest. He was wearing crimson clothes, and it made Ning Shu's face look like jade. Situ Sun saw Ning Shu appear and curled the corners of his mouth. "Brother Xiefeng, I'm here to take my wife, my lover." Situ Sun grabbed Qin Yanji's hand and lowered his head to kiss the back of it. He even looked at Qin Yanji with lingering eyes. It made Qin Yanji's heart thump like thunder. She was embarrassed and embarrassed. She wanted to shake off his hand, but he held on tightly. Ning Shu was speechless. Fuck. Ning Shu's expression grew cold. "If you're here to attend the wedding banquet, then I welcome you. But if you're doing this, then you're going too far. Your wife isn't here. Only my wife is here, sect leader. Come with me or I'll kill him." Situ Sun smiled wickedly and pointed at Ning Shu. "No, I'm going to marry senior brother, and you're a liar. I don't want to see you again," Qin Yanji shouted directly. Situ Sun waved his hand, and many members of the demon sect appeared around them. Judging by their auras, they were all experts. Chapter 1989. Ning Shu looked at the martial arts masters who had appeared around him. He grinned and said gracefully, "Don't you think you're being a bit arrogant in Wanjian Villa's territory?" "Of course, you can also let us go," Situ Sun said as he grabbed Qin Yanji's hand and refused to let go. Ning Shu saw that the world was green. Of course, he chose to forgive her. Ning Shu said, "Yanji is my wife. We will be wives who will spend the rest of our lives together. You can step aside." Situ Sun chuckled seductively. "Are you sure that this woman in a wedding dress loves you and that she has me in her heart?" Ning Shu smiled and said, "I don't care. She will be my wife from now on, and her body will be mine. We will share the same bed in life and the same cave in death, so it doesn't matter who she has in her heart. You get the heart and I get the body. In terms of size, I'm bigger than you." Situ Sun was speechless. This man was crazy. He could actually tolerate this kind of thing. Sidu-sun sneered, I really pity you. You're so petty. Yes, those who are loved are all ancestors. I'm used to it, Ning Shu said nonchalantly. You can't imagine how good I am to my little sister. Brother. Qin Yanji looked at Ning Shu with tears in her eyes. Brother, I've let you down. It's okay. It wasn't the first time. Sidu-sun saw that the situation was developing in a strange direction. He pulled Qin Yanji's arm hard and said in a low voice, Come with me, or I'll have someone kill your dear brother. Qin Yanji bit her lip and said hatefully, You're shameless. I can be even more shameless. I said that when you got married, I would give you a big gift. This is my big gift. You are the woman I have taken a fancy to. How can you marry someone else? So you must come with me obediently, the seductive Sidu-sun said domineeringly. I don't want to. Qin Yanji resisted Sidu-sun. Was this still the Sidu-sun she knew? This Sidu-sun was an evil person. He was very dangerous. He was like a devil's snare from hell. He was beautiful, attractive, and full of fatal attraction. It made people want to throw themselves at him like moths to a flame. Even if they were burned by fire, even if they were smashed to pieces, even if they did not have a good ending, they would have no regrets. This was a demon. Qin Yanji tried her best to resist Sidu-sun in her heart. She struggled in her heart and wanted to tear her heart in half. On one side was her fiancé, and today was their wedding day. On the other side was a man who would break her body and break her bones. He was a man who would not have a good ending. He was a man who could even predict a tragic ending. Qin Yanji's head was about to explode. She screamed at Sidu-sun, I don't want to go with you. You're a liar. There's nothing between us anymore. Sidu-sun sneered, You have to think this through. If you don't come with me, he will die, and your beloved senior brother will become a ghost under my sword. The wedding will become a funeral. What I want is for you to agree to come with me willingly. What do you mean willingly? You're threatening me. Qin Yanji was extremely angry. Her bright eyes glistened with tears. You dare to say that you don't love me and that you don't like me? If you say no, I'll immediately take my people and leave. Say it. Sidu-sun looked at Qin Yanji with a devilish charm. Qin Yanji bit her lip. She did not deny or admit it. In fact, she was silently admitting it. See, you have me in your heart. Come with me, Sidu-sun said. Even if I have any feelings for you, I'm going to get married now. I'm going to marry my senior brother who loves me. Senior brother will be my husband in the future. He is the most suitable person for me and not you. From the beginning, you've been approaching me with ill intentions. Qin Yanji would not leave with Sidu-sun. Ning Shu, the audience, was speechless. Why did you ignore my existence? Shouldn't the two love rivals be tearing each other apart at this time? How did it become these two people's home field? Ahem, it's time for the wedding ceremony. Leader Situ, please let go of my wife. We're going to perform the ceremony. Ning Shu said calmly. He did not become angry out of humiliation. He was calm and collected, as if he did not care about Sidu-sun at all. Sidu-sun chuckled. With a wave of his hand, the martial arts masters around them surrounded Ning Shu. They were prepared to attack Ning Shu as a group. Senior brother. Qin Yanji was a bit anxious. These people were obviously masters. How could senior brother fight them alone? Sidu-sun, you're despicable. I am despicable. As long as you leave with me, I'll let him go. I'll let him know who is the one for you. How can such a weak person be with you? Sidu-sun's tone was very disdainful. You're shameless. You're shameless. Qin Yanji was so angry that her body was trembling. Sidu-sun gladly accepted Qin Yanji's praise for himself. He did not care at all how angry Qin Yanji was as long as Qin Yanji did not marry Chong Xiefeng. His woman had to belong to him completely. She could not be owned by another man. Ning Shu glanced at the masters surrounding him and pulled out his shiny sword. Go. The group of people attacked Ning Shu. They were going to fight one against many. They wanted to crush Ning Shu in terms of martial arts. Ning Shu tapped the ground with the tip of his foot and leaped up. Sword chi surged out and swept towards these people. He kicked them one by one and sent them flying. Who would want to exchange blows with you? Ning Shu flew in front of Situ Sun and Qin Yanji. He tapped the ground lightly with the tip of his foot and carried his sword on his back. He said to Qin Yanji, "Junior sister, I've defeated them all. You don't need to compromise with him for me. You don't need to be threatened by him. All the abusive relationships were because they were not strong enough." Qin Yanji looked at the masters lying on the ground in shock. They were all clutching their chests and vomiting blood. He had defeated all these people in just a few rounds. When had her senior brother become so powerful? Qin Yanji had already planned for the worst, which was to leave with Situ Sun in order to save her senior brother's life. As long as her senior brother was alive, it was more important than anything else. But the current situation was really beyond Qin Yanji's expectations. She did not need to be threatened by Situ Sun anymore. But why did she feel so conflicted? Qin Yanji did not expect this, and neither did Situ Sun. They did not expect the senior disciple of the Wanjian villa to have such strength. The people who followed him were all masters of the devil sect. They did not expect these masters to be defeated. Ning Shu extended his hand to Qin Yanji. "Junior sister, come here." Ning Shu smiled slightly. His red clothes were like fire, and he held a sharp sword in his hand. His eyes were like a painting, and his eyebrows flew into his hair. He extended his hand to Qin Yanji. He was a handsome man who had walked out of a painting. Qin Yanji stared blankly at her senior brother like this. He was leisurely and lofty. His eyes seemed to be smiling as he looked at her, but there was also a bit of coldness. There was also an indescribable feeling. It made Qin Yanji feel that her senior brother seemed to be a bit taller. Chapter 1990. Senior brother, who always prioritized her, walked to her side, but their relationship was like a broken lotus. Perhaps it was broken, and there was no relationship at all. Perhaps the thread was strong and would not break. In short, Qin Yanji felt that she could not control senior brother like this. She didn't know if senior brother liked her or not. Some of her previous impressions were shaken. "Little sister." Ning Shu smiled at Qin Yanji and called out to her. Even though there was a cloud of green above his head, he still smiled. If Qin Yanji was a man, she would have been scolded a long time ago. Logically speaking, Qin Yanji should be on Ning Shu's side now, and that was exactly what Qin Yanji did. After all, she had a fiancé who had been with her since she was a child, and her father didn't approve of her having any entanglements with the demon sect. Qin Yanji's heart was numb. Ning Shu walked over step by step, but was pulled back by Situ Sun. "You're mine. Where are you going?" Qin Yanji's heart was in a mess. She was going to get married if she went back with her eldest brother. She didn't want to go back, but if she didn't go back and left with Situ Sun, she would be letting her eldest brother down and disobeying her father. Qin Yanji couldn't give up on either side, so she was so conflicted. Ning Shu looked at Situ Sun indifferently. "Are you Zabi?" "What?" Situ Sun sneered. "Chong Xiefeng, we haven't fought yet. Let's spar." Ning Shu didn't say anything and stabbed at Situ Sun with his sword. Situ Sun pushed Qin Yanji away and pushed her out of the fighting ring. Sand and pebbles flew everywhere, and the leaves on the ground were flipped. Ning Shu raised his eyebrows. As expected, Situ Sun's martial arts were very high, and his internal energy was profound. Situ Sun's expression was a bit ugly. His godfather said he was a rare martial arts genius, but this Chong Xiefeng seemed to be about the same age as him. How could he fight with him and not lose? Some of the information seemed to be outdated. Qin Yanji saw that both of them were fighting with their lives on the line. If anything happened to either of them, she would be sad. They were both important to her, and she couldn't let anything happen to either of them. "Stop fighting! Everyone stop! Stop!" Qin Yanji shouted. Her voice was so loud that it broke the wind. However, the two of them simply ignored her. Ning Shu released a stream of energy to launch a sneak attack on Situ Sun. Situ Sun was struck, and for a moment he panicked. Ning Shu raised his sword, and with a cold expression he stabbed it towards Situ Sun's heart. Qin Yanji saw that Sidu Sun was about to be killed and was shocked beyond words. Before she had time to think, she threw herself in front of Sidu Sun. There was the sound of a sword piercing flesh. Ning Shu's sword had pierced Qin Yanji's collarbone. It had originally been aimed at Sidu Sun's heart, but Qin Yanji wasn't as tall as Sidu Sun, so she blocked it and stabbed below her collarbone. Seeing this, Ning Shu poked her a little deeper. Qin Yanji grunted, and blood flowed from the corner of her mouth. Time seemed to stop. Qin Yanji's face was pale as she said to Ning Shu, "Senior brother, don't kill him." Qin Yanji softly fell to the ground, and Ning Shu pulled out his sword. Qin Yanji's wound quickly began to bleed, staining her wedding dress. Sidu Sun hurriedly caught Qin Yanji, but Ning Shu kicked Sidu Sun's shoulder. "Get lost. Don't touch little sister." Ning Shu hugged Qin Yanji's body, no, her body, and headed towards Wanjian Villa. Sidu Sun rubbed the shoulder that Ning Shu had kicked, and various expressions flashed across his face. There was malice, worry, and a bit of confusion. He clearly hadn't expected Qin Yanji to block the sword for him. "Let's go. You're all useless," Sidu Sun coldly said to the masters on the ground, his eyes full of hostility. He stood on the mountain rock and stared at Wanjian Villa, then turned around and disappeared into the forest. This matter wouldn't end here. He would still be back. Ning Shu carried Qin Yanji back to Wanjian Villa and put her on the bed. He quickly went to find the Wanjian Villa's old doctor. This was one of the more famous miracle doctors in the Jianghu. He was now a guest at Wanjian Villa. If anyone in the villa fell ill, they would go to the old doctor. Then Ning Shu went to find Old Man Qin. Old Man Qin was greeting guests with a smile. Seeing Ning Shu's anxious expression, he cupped his hands. Ning Shu walked over and asked, "What happened?" "Something happened to little sister. She's injured, so she might not be able to go through the wedding ceremony," Ning Shu said quietly. "This is all my fault." Old Man Qin's heart skipped a beat. As he quickly walked to Qin Yanji's room, Ning Shu scolded, "What on earth happened? How could something like this happen at such an important time? All the clans and sects came to the wedding banquet. What are we going to do now? How did Yanji get injured? Shouldn't she be in the bridal chamber?" Ning Shu concisely explained the situation clearly, then said, "At the time, I discovered that little sister was missing. In order to prevent anything from happening and cause gossip to spread and make Wanjian Villa a laughingstock, I went alone. The others didn't know that little sister was injured. We can tell everyone that little sister suddenly fell ill, and the wedding was postponed. This is all my fault. I stabbed little sister." Ning Shu apologized sincerely. As soon as Old Man Qin heard this, the veins on his forehead were about to explode. When he heard that Qin Yanji had blocked the attack for Sidu Sun, he sighed heavily. "It's not your fault, Xiefeng. You did well. Your disciple was worried about little sister's reputation." Little sister was only temporarily bewitched by Sidu Sun. Little sister is innocent, so it's inevitable that she would be attracted to interesting and dangerous things, Ning Shu said. Old Man Qin narrowed his eyes at Ning Shu. "How did you defeat so many masters?" Your disciple actually used some medicine. It was the cultivation dissipation powder. Those masters were poisoned, so they couldn't be considered masters anymore. Ning Shu said, "Although it was a little despicable, your disciple couldn't just stand by and watch Sidu Sun take little sister away." Qin Song sighed and quickly walked into the room. He saw his daughter lying on the bed. Her face was pale, and the wound on her chest was bleeding nonstop. He washed it with a handkerchief, and the blood in the basin looked particularly frightening. "Dr. Wu, how is my daughter?" Qin Song anxiously asked the old doctor. He only had one daughter, and his late wife had risked her life to give birth to her. "The bleeding has stopped. Her injury is a little serious, so she needs to rest. Her life isn't in danger, but she needs to be careful at all times to see if she has a fever. She needs to be careful. Otherwise, it will leave a lasting illness." The old doctor said, "I will do my best to not leave a lasting illness." Ning Shu was shocked. His face was pale and his eyes were dull. He felt regret and fear. He blamed himself. It's all my fault. I hurt little sister. Chapter 1991. Ning Shu knew what she was doing when she attacked. Although it was an accident, if something really happened to Qin Yanji, Qin Song would definitely kill her. At that time, she wouldn't care if Qin Yanji blocked the sword for someone else. His daughter was already dead. What was the point of telling him the truth? Could it bring his daughter back to life? Therefore, Qin Yanji would only suffer a little but wouldn't die. Ning Shu wouldn't let her die either. After all, she was the one who stabbed her. Qin Song looked at her lifeless daughter on the bed. She was angry and distressed. She was angry that Ning Shu had assassinated her daughter, but she couldn't blame her disciple. Her daughter was about to get married and was entangled with another man in a wedding dress. She almost eloped. She was the one who was too ashamed to see her disciple. Qin Song clutched her chest. She almost spat out a mouthful of blood. The internal energy in her meridians was in a mess. She was going crazy again. There were too many things in Qin Song's heart. This was the last thing he wanted to see. Father Qin Song, swallowed the blood in his throat and said to Ning Shu, "This isn't your fault. You don't have to take it to heart. Go send away all the sections I need to look after Nianji." Ning Shu cupped his hands and said yes. Then he went to tell the guests that the wedding banquet would be postponed because the bride had suddenly fallen ill. They would inform them when the wedding would be held next time. Ning Shu's attitude was good. He apologized profusely. These people muttered that they had come all the way to the wedding banquet, but now they were going back. In order to apologize, Ning Shu said they could buy weapons at Wanjian Villa's weapons workshop at a discount. Although they didn't know if it was true, Ning Shu's words made them feel comfortable. After sending the guests away, Ning Shu wiped the sweat off his forehead. He looked at the red lanterns hanging everywhere with the red Shi character pasted on them. It was especially glaring. Imagining the client doing it 3 times in a row, he felt like a dog. However, Qin Yanji was enduring it for Chong Xiefeng. It seemed like she was trying to save Chong Xiefeng's life. "I cheated on you because of you. Chong Xiefeng, ha." Ning Shu ordered the servants to change out all the festive things. He felt irritated just by looking at them. He couldn't really get married, so these things were just there to remind him. After doing all this, Ning Shu went to Qin Yanji's room. No matter what, she was the one who had stabbed Qin Yanji. She couldn't run away. She had to consciously run over and guard him until Qin Yanji woke up. They all left. Old man Qin asked Ning Shu tiredly. Ning Shu nodded. "I've sent them all away. Is Junior's sister feeling better?" "Xiefeng, there are some things I want you to know. When I'm gone in the future, I still need you to take care of Nianji. I only have one request, and that is to not let Nianji get too close to the devil sect," Father Qin said sternly to Ning Shu. "You have to swear to me, promise me." Ning Shu felt like he was about to hear a huge revelation. He cupped his hands and said, "Master, I will definitely take good care of Junior sister. She will be my wife. I will take good care of my wife and fulfill the responsibility of a husband. Speaking of which, I have some connections with the devil sect. Back then, Nianji's mother was a famous beauty in the underworld and had some entanglements with the previous leader of the devil sect. Nianji's mother married me, but the leader of the devil sect kept pestering her. Nianji's mother was worried about my feelings, so she found an opportunity to poison the previous leader, causing him to go crazy and die. After giving birth to Nianji, she also died of blood loss," Qin Song said slowly. "So, Nianji can no longer have any entanglements with the devil sect." Ning Shu was speechless. This feeling was exactly the same as mother and daughter. However, Qin Yanji's mother was much more ruthless and directly poisoned her to death. Qin Yanji certainly couldn't do that. So, Sidu Sun's motive for getting close to Qin Yanji was probably to avenge the previous leader. No wonder Sidu Sun wanted to drag Qin Yanji's mother out to whip her corpse, and Qin Yanji chose to leave with Sidu Sun in order to protect her mother's corpse and reputation. What a sadistic relationship! The grudges of the previous generation were being entangled by the next generation. First, There was the opposition between the two sides. One was a righteous sect, and the other was a wanton and unrestrained devil sect. Then there was the grudges of the previous generation. Let's just ask you if you're sadistic. If it wasn't for the tense atmosphere, Ning Shu would have rolled his eyes a long time ago. The previous generation stole a woman. In the previous lifetime, Old Man Qin stole the leader's daughter. Now Sidu Sun was doing the same. The problem was Chong Xiefeng. Chong Xiefeng was simply dumbfounded. What did this have to do with him? Why was he involved in this feud? Ning Shu's face twitched. He said to Old Man Qin, "I'm afraid Sidu Sun won't let it go so easily." Ning Shu was now wondering whose daughter Qin Yanji was. Sure enough, since ancient times, beautiful women were often ill-fated. One needed to have the ability to protect one's looks. That's why we can't let Nianji get entangled with the devil sect. I'm a bit tired. Look after Nianji. Old Man Qin looked tired. The space between his eyebrows was blue, and he staggered a bit when he walked. Ning Shu cupped his hands. "Master, rest well. I'll tell you as soon as junior sister wakes up." Old Man Qin grunted. Ning Shu glanced at Qin Yanji, who was lying on the bed. He poured a glass of water to drink. He was dying of thirst. Earlier he had argued with Situ Sun, and then he had persuaded the guest to leave. His throat was almost smoking. Ning Shu asked the maid to bring some food for him. He was very hungry. Since he had to watch over Qin Yanji, he had to watch over her until she woke up. After Ning Shu finished eating, he cultivated while watching over Qin Yanji. Old Man Qin might be watching from somewhere. Even if his daughter had 1,000 faults, he couldn't allow others to bully her. However, he couldn't be without a temper. So Ning Shu's face was always sullen, but when it came to taking care of Qin Yanji, he did it personally. Qin Yanji, who had been in a coma for 2 days and 2 nights, finally woke up. She opened her eyes weakly, and her gaze was blank. When she focused on Ning Shu's face, she called out, "Elder brother." Qin Yanji struggled to get up, but she pulled on her wound. Her face was even paler, and her brows were in pain. "Don't get up. You're still injured." Ning Shu pressed Qin Yanji down. "If you pull on your wound, it'll bleed." "Elder brother, I want to drink water," Qin Yanji said. Ning Shu grunted and poured warm water. He used a spoon to feed Qin Yanji mouthful by mouthful. Qin Yanji's face was completely pale. Even her lips were pale. She was extremely haggard, but even though she had the foundation of a beauty, she was now a sickly beauty. Qin Yanji opened her mouth several times. She wanted to ask Situ Sun how Situ Sun was doing. However, Ning Shu pretended not to see Qin Yanji's face. He had someone inform the manor head that the young lady had woken up. "Elder brother," Qin Yanji called out to Ning Shu. Ning Shu grunted and tucked Qin Yanji in. Chapter 1992. Qin Yanji smiled hesitantly and said, "Brother, she said softly, don't worry about anything right now. Take care of your body." When Ning Shu said that, Qin Yanji thought something had happened to Sidu Sun. She asked excitedly, "Brother, did something happen?" Ning Shu asked calmly, "Do you want something to happen? Our marriage has been postponed." Qin Yanji wanted to ask about Situ Sun. Had he been arrested? Ning Shu purposely didn't mention Situ Sun's situation. It made Qin Yanji's pale face flush with a sickly blush. "Senior brother, you know what I'm talking about, senior brother?" Qin Yanji's voice trembled. Ning Shu said calmly, "I don't know what you're talking about. Sister, you scared me to death this time. Promise me you won't do something like this again, okay?" Ning Shu didn't say how Sidu Sun was doing to make Qin Yanji anxious. "You're awake. You can't do something like this again." Father Qin walked into the room and interrupted their conversation. Qin Yanji didn't know how Sidu Sun was doing. She had a feeling that Sidu Sun wasn't killed by Brother Qin. In the situation at the time, Sidu Sun wasn't Brother Qin's match. He was either locked up. Qin Yanji's wound hurt, and blood seeped out. Qin Yanji looked at her father. "Father, it hurts. Weren't you very brave when you blocked the sword? You're making your enemy happy." Father Qin felt helpless when he saw his daughter's pale face. He also felt bad. "Father, how is Situ Sun?" Qin Yanji was more confident facing her father than facing Ning Shu. She asked, "Father, where is Situ Sun? Have you seen Situ Sun? You're talking about this when you wake up?" Father Qin was a bit shocked. She was talking about this in front of her own fiancé. What would Chong Xiefeng, her disciple, think? There was a saying that if you wanted to destroy a family, you had to spoil your own daughter. Then she would harm other families and successfully take revenge. He didn't know if this disciple of his would hate him or not. Even old man Qin, the father, felt very stifled, let alone Chong Xiefeng, the fiancé. "Father, what happened while I was unconscious?" Qin Yanji asked. Old man Qin couldn't help but say, "What do you think we did to Situ Sun? Your senior brother only cared about your injuries and didn't care about Situ Sun at all. He should have returned to the demonic sect by now, so don't think about it." Old man Qin wanted to tell her the truth, but considering that Qin Yanji's body couldn't take the blow right now, and that his daughter seemed to have fallen in love with the cult leader of the demon sect, he decided not to. Devil sect, it was the devil sect again. These bastards were really annoying. They caused him to lose his wife, and now they were pestering his daughter. They really deserved to die. When Qin Yanji heard that Situ Sun was fine, he let out a sigh of relief. After he let out a sigh of relief, he realized that he had hurt Chong Xiefeng like this. He found an excuse and said, "Senior brother, I was afraid that the demon sect's hierarch would die in our 10,000 Swords Villa's territory. It wouldn't be good if it caused a war between the two sections." Ning Shu only said, "You are very considerate. Master, I want to go back and freshen up." Ning Shu saluted Old Man Qin and left the room. Old Man Qin also knew that his disciple was in a bad mood right now, so he didn't say anything. Chong Xiefeng was the son-in-law and heir that he had chosen, but his daughter was a disappointment. In the future, he still had to rely on Chong Xiefeng to bring 10,000 Swords Villa to greater heights. Your senior brother is your fiancé. You talk about another man in front of your fiancé, and you care about another man. What do you want him to think? How can you face the person who has cared for and cherished you since you were young? Old man Qin naturally sided with his daughter. He didn't want her to miss out on such a talented young man with good character and martial arts. But if she had to get involved with the demon sect, she would be like a moth to a flame. Seeing his daughter like this, Old man Qin thought of his deceased wife. She had also died young because she had gotten involved with the demon sect. Old man Qin's heart throbbed with pain. When would this kind of ill-fated relationship end? Qin Yanji was helpless. She didn't know what to do. Her heart didn't seem to belong to her anymore. That Situ Sun was a big villain. The big bad guy was a big liar who had cheated her of her heart. At the critical moment, she couldn't care about her senior brother's feelings. Qin Yanji, oh Qin Yanji, how can you face your senior brother? Qin Yanji wanted to tear herself in half right now. That way, she wouldn't have to let down either side and wouldn't have to suffer so much. But her heart didn't belong to her anymore. She couldn't control her heart. What should she do? Recover well. Don't let your senior brother get hurt again. Because of the delay of the wedding this time, there are a lot of rumors about your senior brother, Old man Qin said helplessly. Qin Yanji didn't speak. She felt very pained. If she hadn't met Situ Sun, she and her senior brother would have naturally gotten married, had children, and spent the rest of their lives together. Moreover, her senior brother would have definitely treated her well. But was this the kind of life she wanted? After meeting Situ Sun, Qin Yanji realized that her future path was like stagnant water. There were no waves. She would have to follow the path she had set. Could she endure this kind of life? If she hadn't met Situ Sun, she would have thought that this kind of life was natural. But now, she rejected this kind of life from the bottom of her heart, even if she felt extremely guilty towards her senior brother. She also didn't want to hurt her kind senior brother. She didn't want to. But if she wanted to be with Situ Sun, her father didn't agree to it, and no one thought highly of it. These things were in Qin Yanji's heart. God, could someone tell her what she should do now? She wanted to have both affection and loyalty. She wanted everything. A threesome's love would definitely hurt one person, but Qin Nianji continued to let it continue. Originally, it was better to have a short pain than a long pain, but Qin Nianji kept hanging. From time to time, she would stab the other person, and when she couldn't wait, she would stab the other person again. This kind of repeated torture, and each time, she was in a wronged and sacrificed position. She had entered a state of extreme torture. To put it bluntly, she caught one and hung the other. Only a broken car needed so many spare tires. Ning Shu returned to her room and sat cross-legged on her bed to cultivate. No matter when, strength was the most important. All the conflict and pain was because she didn't have enough strength. The reason Qin Nianji had compromised time and time again was because she didn't have enough strength. If she had enough strength, she didn't need to sacrifice herself at all. Thinking of Qin Nianji's expression when she defeated those demon sect masters, Ning Shu couldn't help but smile. She had already decided to leave with Situ Sun, but the result was unexpected. Qin Nianji was a very hypocritical and selfish person. Chapter 1993. The injured Qin Nianji didn't have time to make a fuss, and her father didn't seem to be in good health. He had been in seclusion and hadn't appeared. He asked the doctor to take good care of his daughter. Ning Shu cultivated hard and occasionally went to see the injured Qin Nianji. Ning Shu withdrew his power and checked his dantian. There was some spiritual energy, but not much. The suppression was very strong. Even if he used the power of the sun, there was still suppression. This was a pure martial arts world, so you could only play with knives and sticks, or work hard to cultivate internal energy and become a master of a generation. Ning Shu got off the bed and prepared to go see Qin Nianji. Qin Nianji had been very quiet since she was injured. This was a bit abnormal. Even if Qin Nianji was injured and wasn't in the mood to make a fuss, Situ Sun actually didn't do anything. This was a bit abnormal. Ning Shu arrived outside Qin Nianji's room. A maid came out of the room with a piece of paper in her hand. When she saw Ning Shu, she stuffed the paper into her sleeve. It was a bit intentional to let her see it. "How is the young miss?" Ning Shu asked the maid. The maid immediately bowed and said, "The young miss is fine. She just thinks it's bitter when she takes medicine every day." "You may leave," Ning Shu said indifferently. The young maidservant almost imperceptibly breathed a sigh of relief and strode away. Ning Shu looked at the maid's back. No wonder the two of them didn't make a fuss. It turned out that there was a messenger. Ning Shu pretended not to know about this. "You can do whatever you want, even if you want to go to heaven." Ning Shu knocked on the door. "Junior sister, it's me." "Senior brother, come in." Qin Nianji's weak voice sounded. Ning Shu pushed the door open and saw Qin Nianji leaning on the bed with a pillow. Ning Shu's sword had injured Qin Nianji. After all, she was a girl. Losing so much blood was detrimental to the body. Now Qin Nianji's face was pale and without any color. Ning Shu walked over and asked, "Are you feeling better?" Qin Nianji forced a smile. "Senior brother, it hurts. It's my fault. It's all because of my carelessness that you were injured. However, this was originally a battle between me and Situ Sun. With you suddenly charging over, I was simply unable to stop my momentum. That's why I stabbed you. In the end, this is all your fault. Do you really think that you're in the right just because you're injured? Just because others will feel sorry for you, you've blurred the essence of this matter." When Qin Nianji heard Ning Shu's words, she suddenly felt uncomfortable. Senior brother was blaming her. "Eldest senior brother, I'm sorry." Qin Nianji bit her lip and said, "I really can't bear to see Situ Sun die in front of me. I know I'm a bad person. I've let you down, senior brother. I'll give you a chance. If you really love Situ Sun, I can let you go and be with Situ Sun. You don't have to be so conflicted." Ning Shu looked at Qin Nianji and asked, "I'm telling the truth. If you say that you want to be with Situ Sun, I can think of a way to make the two of you be together." Ning Shu wore the green hat righteously. He was like a textbook example of a hero of the green forest. Qin Nianji stared blankly at Ning Shu. Tears immediately fell. She said bitterly, "Senior brother, you're really suffering. I've let you down. If you really feel that you've let me down, then give me a straightforward answer. How the two of them wanted to love each other in the future was their own business. Don't drag her into this. The most annoying thing was that Qin Yanji felt sorry for him. He couldn't bear to hurt her, but he was using a blunt knife to torture her. Eldest senior brother? Qin Yanji's expression was conflicted. Eldest senior brother, I can't abandon everything and leave with Situ Sun. I can't abandon you. I can't abandon father. I can't abandon 10,000 Sword Villa. People were greedy. They wanted everything and didn't want to make a choice. Ning Shu looked at Qin Yanji expressionlessly. Then can you break it off with Situ Sun? Qin Yanji bit her lip. The corners of Ning Shu's mouth twitched. He couldn't bear to part with her. He couldn't bear to part with either of them. Chong Xiefeng should have left early on such a girl. However, they had been together for more than 10 years. They were originally engaged and were about to get married. Suddenly, someone came out of nowhere. Who could tolerate this kind of thing? Just ask any man. More than 10 years of protection couldn't compare to a man she had just met. Love was domineering. There was no distinction between before and after. There was no reason. There was no right or wrong. Love was love. However, Qin Yanji's attitude made this dispute prolong. In the end, one of them died. Only then could the love between the three of them end. Then what do you mean? Ning Shu raised his eyebrows and asked. I don't know. I don't know what to do. Senior brother, tell me. What should I do? Qin Yanji asked Ning Shu. Ning Shu, who the hell knew what to do? No, even a ghost wouldn't know what to do. Senior brother, you're very important to me. I don't want to hurt you, but my heart isn't mine anymore. Qin Yanji sobbed. Are you thinking that even if you fall in love with someone else, I should still silently protect you? Ning Shu asked directly. This was too domineering. She didn't have the right to happiness. It was fine if he enjoyed it, but he still wanted her to protect him. Can't you be a little more kind? You can't bully people like this. Senior brother, I never thought of it that way. Qin Yanji stared at Ning Shu, dumbfounded. She was so angry that a layer of red appeared on her face. In senior brother's heart, am I such a person? Am I such an evil person? If senior brother has someone who likes me, I will definitely give you my blessings. Oh, you mean I should give you my blessings now? Ning Shu asked. You don't want to marry me, and you don't want to break off the engagement. Yet you're still in contact with Situ Sun. I can't understand your attitude. The things you've done are really inconceivable. Eldest senior brother, I will definitely marry you. There is no future between Situ Sun and I. I know that you will definitely become my husband. Qin Yanji frowned even more. I'm just confused. I just can't control my heart. Senior brother, I'm in so much pain. Ning Shu was speechless. She really had to be crazy to come and tell Qin Yanji this. Qin Yanji was now a young girl in love. She was so sad that it made people speechless. She was in pain, but it was just a difficult choice. She couldn't bear to give up on anyone. Ning Shu didn't want to discuss this topic anymore, but Qin Yanji begged Ning Shu. Senior brother, can you give me some time? I will definitely take care of it. I will marry you. Oh, she said it like it was a great gift to marry someone. It was like she had to marry someone else. Ning Shu pursed his lips and said, So you still want to marry me? Senior brother, I will definitely marry you, but my heart is with Situ Sun. Ning Shu was speechless. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.